Thomas Tuchel picks his World Cup squad on Friday. He'll narrow 55 down to 26, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, deep in added time, scores his 14th Premier League goal of the season with pace and composure, and wins it for Leeds United, as Jorginho Ruta just applauds all sides of Ellen Road as well, the former Leeds United man. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin is the story where the front men are concerned. His goal means it's finished here at Ellen Road. Leeds United 1, Brighton and Hove Albion 0.
So Leeds get the win. Brighton are still 7th then in the final Europa League spot. That's where they'll end the day, unless Brentford can find a late winner against Crystal Palace. It's been some game. John Southall.
We are in the 100th minute. Brentford 2, Crystal Palace 2. Another chance late in the game. This time corner on the left-hand side. Van den Berg got up there and headed over the bar. I reckon we're going to have an extra couple of minutes of added time still to play. They've had 3 great chances in that added time. Sharda smashed a shot wide. Igor Thiago, 7 yards out, put his shot over the bar. Here comes Adam Wharton, drives a shot into the area, cleared away, and Damsgaard plays it out wide to the left-hand side to Sharda. This could be their last opportunity for Brentford. Sharda on as a substitute, will run at the defender Camvo, into the penalty area, gets the byline, pulls it back. Home fans call for a penalty, referee says no. We play on. Brentford 2, Palace 2.
Everton surely now out of European contention, but Sunderland are banging it. Charlie Slater.
Very much so. Everton 1, Sunderland 3. Those European dreams of Sunderland. Remember, it's been over 50 years since they last graced European football, are very much alive and well. They turned it around in the second half. Rolls deflected effort gave Everton a half-time lead, but Brobby equalised inside the hour mark. Enzo Lefebvre scored with 10 left, and Isidore added another in stoppage time to give Sunderland renewed hope. They're up to 9th as it stands, while Everton dropped to 11th and heard boos at full time for the final time this season at Hill Dickinson, where it finished Everton 1, Sunderland 3.
All over at Molineux, Rob Law.
Wolves 1, Fulham 1, and the final whistle has also gone on Premier League football at Molineux. The next time a ball is kicked here, it will be in the Championship. They took the lead initially through Mateus Mane's powerful strike from 18 yards in the first half, but then the teenager brought down Castagna inside the box to give Fulham a penalty, which was rolled into the back of the net by Anthony Robinson on the stroke of half-time. Adam Armstrong then hit the post for Wolves in what was a very quiet second half. Fulham's European hopes seemed very slim coming into today. It's even more unlikely now. Wolves 1, Fulham 1.
Brentford have run out of time to complete the comeback. John Southall.
There are players strewn all over the pitch here. What a final 20 minutes we had. 10 minutes of added on, but as you say, Brentford couldn't find that winner. Brentford 2, Palace 2, 1-1 at half-time. Sarr with a Palace penalty, Ouattara equalising 5 minutes before the break. Adam Wharton with Palace's second, his first goal for the club on the edge of the D. His shot under Kelleher may have been unsighted, the keeper, but a poor one to give away. Ouattara then had a shot cleared off the line late on, and then got the equaliser in the 88th minute at the back post. Long throw flicked on, and there he was to nod it in. 3 times in added time Brentford could have won it. Sharda smashed a shot wide, Igor Thiago 7 yards out over the crossbar, and then in the 98th minute Van den Berg headed over, and with it went the chances of winning this game. But Brentford still very much in the mix for European football with 1 game to play. They're in that all-important 8th place on 52 points. What a final Sunday we could have. Brentford 2, Palace 2.
Yeah, Brentford will finish at Liverpool, as John says, in possession of 8th place. But Chelsea now have it in their own hands because they still have 2 games to go. They're on 49 points in 10th, just 2 behind Sunderland. Let's check in on the Women's Six Nations. France, England, a great start for the hosts. Maz Farouki.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. We waited 15 minutes for the first points of this match, but what a fantastic score from France. Finished by Pauline Bourdon, but a move that started with them winning the ball back pretty much on their own try line and scored by their number 9 after they cantered the length of the pitch. That's been converted as well. So in this winner-takes-all clash in Bordeaux, it's France who lead the world champions. France 7, England 0, 90 minutes on the clock.
Let's go back to the bottom of the Premier League because we've got an absolutely massive game coming up for you in 25 minutes' time. Newcastle against West Ham United, who desperately need something. It would take a win today to lift them out of the bottom 3, but we could be only a few days from their relegation being confirmed. Ailey Barber.
Absolutely, Steve. A huge game for West Ham. If they don't win today, and then Tottenham beat Chelsea on Tuesday night, West Ham will be relegated, and they really need to win because the goal difference, if that does come into play, is heavily in Tottenham's favour. So West Ham looking at a victory here at St James's Park or potential relegation on Tuesday night. They did beat Newcastle 3-1 earlier in the season. Maybe that will give them hope, but they have only done the double over Newcastle in the Premier League twice in their history, 98-99 season and 2018-2019. So a tough task ahead for Nuno Espirito Santo's side.
Andy Reid is alongside Ailey for commentary. Afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon. How are you, mate?
Very good, thank you. Obviously, Tottenham have been much better since Roberto De Zerbi came in, especially in the last couple of games. So for West Ham, I mean, do they have to win both games now, do you think? Both this one today and then on the final day against Leeds?
Yeah, I would imagine so. With the way, there has been an upturn in Tottenham's play and the results as well, the points they've got. This is a huge game. I think all West Ham can hope for, try and take it to the last day, hope that there's some nerves at Tottenham on the final day and see if they can grab something from it. But they're in a very precarious situation here, and it's a big ask today. There's not an awful lot of pressure on this Newcastle team. Last game of the season, they'll probably come out of the traps. The fans will be behind them, wanting to finish off strongly at St James's. So this is going to be a tough task for them today.
There's a couple of interesting subplots within the Newcastle team. Of course, you've got Kieran Trippier saying goodbye to St James's Park, one of the first signings of their new era from a few years ago. But will Anthony Gordon get on and say goodbye? Because it feels like that's the direction of travel for him, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it seems that way. I was at the game at Forest last week, and when they kind of needed a goal, you look back at the bench and he would be one that normally you would go to, and they didn't, which probably says a lot. But I have a feeling with this Newcastle team that there's a few of them that have been here for a few years, and it might be time for a little bit of freshness. I think there might be a bit of money for them to spend in the summer, and I think you could see a pretty different Newcastle team next year, and a bit of a rebuild in progress. So there's Anthony Gordon, but there's also a few others that could potentially be heading for the exit. And you mentioned Kieran Trippier. I think he's been a great servant for the club. Came in really difficult circumstances when he first signed, so a good send off for him today from the fans, I'm sure, will be in the plot.
Yeah, absolutely. Newcastle's final home game of the season. We'll be back with Andy Reid and Ailey Barber for full commentary at 5:30. It's finished in Super League in that game between Bradford and Hull FC. Matt Newsom.
Yeah, big win this one for Bradford. A first win in 16-14, and they were made to sweat right to the last for it as well. Having built up a first half lead through Chris Atkins' goal kicking, with 2 from Zach Hardacre in reply. They finally got the first try of the game after Yusuf Hayden had been sent off for something pretty much out of all-in wrestling. It was a big slam tackle on Callum Akins. He saw red, down to 12 Hull. Wonga Blake took advantage with a try. There was a quick reply from Hull as Joe Batchelor went over, and then Ethan Ryan scored a spectacular finish in the corner, and it looked like Bradford were going to canter to victory. It wasn't quite like that. A late try from Davy Litton put a little bit of jeopardy in it. Hardacre missed the kick. Bradford clung on to the points, and Hull, well, where do they go from here? They really are toiling at the wrong end of the table. Finished here though, Bradford 16, Hull 14.
Let's check in on the final of the FA Trophy at Wembley Stadium. Southend United against Wealdstone. Sahil Sahi.
Still currently 0-0. We've got 10 minutes of the first half to play. Southend have started the better. Harry Cardwell came closest to opening the scoring after 6 minutes. He was slipped through into the penalty area on the right-hand side. Here's that right-footed shot across goal, hit the foot of the post. The Wealdstone goalkeeper was well beaten. Stuart Maynard's here, by the way, Steve, the York City manager. He's in attendance supporting non-league finals day as he looks forward to a League 2 campaign next season. 36 minutes played. Southend 0, Wealdstone 0.
Earlier, AFC Stoneham won the FA Vars final at Wembley. They beat Cockfosters on penalties. Reminder of the scores then in the Premier League today. In the early kick-off, Manchester United beat Nottingham Forest by 3-2. Finished Everton 1, Sunderland 3, Brentford 2, Crystal Palace 2. Wolves and Fulham drew 1-1. And Leeds United beat Brighton by 1-0 thanks to Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Back to the rugby in Bordeaux. France-England in the Six Nations decider. Maz.
And England have responded, Steve. A try really created by their forwards, powered over in the end by Sarah Byrne. That's been converted as well. So the world champions are level in Bordeaux. France 7, England 7, 24 minutes played.
Right, let's go back to Ellen Road. And Mike, you said it in commentary at the end of the game there. Who knows, that might be for Dominic Calvert-Lewin a goal that extends his summer.
Yeah, his 14th Premier League goal of the season, and with Thomas Tuchel selecting a 22-man World Cup squad on Friday, maybe Dominic Calvert-Lewin might get his chance alongside Harry Kane, possibly even the man he played today against in Danny Well. But Brighton are the story, blowing a chance to secure Europa League football. A win, given the Brentford result, would have guaranteed at least 7th, but they were tepid in all truth. They rarely threatened on the Leeds goal, nothing with conviction either. Leeds were in a relaxed mood, already safe in the Premier League, only really turned up the heat for spells. Even the winner came from a mistake. Van Hecke's pass back, pounced upon by Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He was on his toes, he weaved his way around Bart Verbruggen and just calmly finished into the back of the net. Anything but calm was the Ellen Road atmosphere that exploded into life as he ran off celebrating towards the corner flag. Leeds here preparing for their lap of honour, and I can tell you that nobody of a Leeds persuasion has left Ellen Road. It is still packed. There's a little hush and a little guard of honour as stewards as the Leeds players prepare to be welcomed out here again at Ellen Road this afternoon with their manager Daniel Farke. Full-time, Leeds 1, Brighton 0.
Michael Brown, just on Brighton then, that error from Van Hecke could end up being massive because they're 7th in the league. Remember, it's top 8 for Europe, so they're in that final Europa League spot. They could drop to 8th in the Conference League, but Chelsea can catch them as well. Yeah. So it might well be they miss out on the final day. It certainly looks like there's a good chance they'll have to beat Manchester United.
Well, that's the case, isn't it? How things change around very, very quickly. You see in the week as well, Chelsea Spurs, huge game. They didn't really perform in the cup final yesterday, but yeah, it's left it wide open. They controlled the possession, looked nice to the eye at times, Steve, but they didn't really push. They weren't clinical in that final zone where they felt like they could have went on and done it. But a huge mistake that just happened, doesn't it? They fell for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. It was all set up really, Steve. When you looked at the game, the lap of honour, the crowd, Daniel Farke's situation, now they're going to really enjoy it because, like I said in the build-up, Leeds United don't normally have it this easy when it's their last home game. They're normally in a fight, normally have a problem, and they're going to enjoy this day.
Yeah, I mean, you never really know because it depends what happens elsewhere. But if Brighton draw with Manchester United on the final day, they'd be favourites to make Europe. They wouldn't definitely be making Europe. But what about Brentford after their draw with Crystal Palace? You could tell John Southall by the reaction at full time how they feel when it comes to the possibility of their first ever season in Europe.
Yeah, what a dream it would have been at the beginning of the season for these Brentford fans to think they could have finished it with a European place. But you have to say that is now a real possibility for this football club. We're just waiting for the players to come back out for their lap of appreciation. This, of course, the final home game of the season, and they deserve such a warm ovation for what they've so far achieved this season, Brentford. And Europe is the possibility as they go to Liverpool on the final day of the season. The tale of this one, 1-1 at half-time. Sarr gave Palace the lead from the penalty spot. Ouattara with the fortuitous equaliser 5 minutes before half-time. Second goal, a memorable one for Adam Wharton. His first Palace goal, his shot from the edge of the D, going under Kelleher. May have been unsighted, the keeper. Think he'll be disappointed. Wharton celebrated with a somersault in front of the Palace fans. Then Keith Andrews chucked on his subs. He went for it. Brentford delivered. 2 minutes from time. Long throw flicked on by Sepp Vandenberg. And there was Ouattara again at the back post to nod in. Second of the day for him. The home fans believed. 3 times in added time they went close. Schade smashed a shot wide. Igor Thiago 7 yards out, shot over the bar. That was the moment. And then Vandenberg headed over as well. It was breathless. So they showed some real resilience here today, Brentford. 1 to play. They are right in the European mix. They hold that 8th position, and you suspect they'll have to go to Anfield and get something this time next week. What a finish we have.
Let's get more reaction on a painful defeat for Brighton at Leeds. Pascal Gross is live on 5 Live with Chris Sykes.
Pascal, a disappointing end to that game. What's the feeling in the dressing room right now?
Obviously not good. When you concede in the last minute, it's really painful. It's a big point we dropped today.
Is it particularly frustrating because you had the chances to go out and win that game as well?
Yeah, I think we deserve to win that game. I think we we played some good football second half. We created enough opportunities to get a lead. We missed a bit, the last finish basically, because we had enough opportunities to go and win the game, and we didn't. And then you get punished on the level when you don't do it yourself.
And it did just feel like a very even game, one of those that really could have gone either way.
No, I felt we've been on top in that game. That was my feeling. Also, when I checked the stats in terms of opportunities and chances, I think we've been way ahead. They played good second half. They played aggressive, but I can remember a big save of Bart, and I can remember a couple of good saves from their keeper.
And you irrespective of the defeat, you're going into the final week of the season. Europe is still very much something you're in contention for. I mean, that must give you some grounds for optimism in the last week of the season.
Yeah, not right now. The game just finished. Would be also a big point to take. Just right now it's just frustration, but obviously we play for a lot, and we need to get our head up and go for it at home.
Thank you very much, Pascal.
Pascal Gross live on 5 Live there with Chris Sykes after Brighton. A damaging defeat potentially for them for their European hopes. Let's go back to St James's Park. We've got full commentary coming up of Newcastle versus West Ham, but Kieran Trippier is getting his send-off a little early, Ailey Barber.
He is. He's just having an interview on the pitch just now that's being played around the loudspeakers here at St James's Park. There's a huge banner in front of me that says "Forever a Newcastle United legend. Thank you for the memories," as he makes his 160th appearance for Newcastle and his last one here at St James's Park. And he's very much entwined with this current recent history for Newcastle. He was the first player to sign post-takeover for the club, and at that time Newcastle were in the bottom 3 of the Premier League, and he had just won La Liga with Atletico Madrid. So he's come in here, and 4 years later he's got a League Cup win. He's been in the Champions League twice, and getting to the last 16 for the first time in the club's history. It's been an incredible story for him here. The fans absolutely adore him, and he's been given a lovely tribute before the match here today.
Yeah, the banner "Forever a Newcastle United legend. Thank you for the memories," it says at Newcastle. But what a goodbye Everton are now saying themselves to Seamus Coleman. So let's take you to Hill Dickinson Stadium and Charlie Slater.
It's probably not the goodbye that Seamus Coleman would have wanted, coming on the back of a 3-1 defeat here today to Sunderland. But Coleman was given a guard of honour by his teammates and their families as he made his way out of the tunnel here just a few moments ago at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Sadly, the majority of the supporters have already gone home. There's probably somewhere around 7,000 or 8,000 that remain inside Hill Dickinson Stadium, but I can see Seamus Coleman, who is down on the pitch, his socks now rolled down to his ankles, joined by his 2 daughters and little boy along with his wife there, and he'll now lead the lap of honour around the pitch here. As I say, there aren't a huge amount of Everton supporters left, but what a shift he has put in over the years, and some of the great and good from Everton past are here to celebrate him and the contribution that he's made to this football club. The cameras are now showing Wayne Rooney. A moment ago they showed Tim Cahill as well. Today was his 373rd Premier League appearance for this football club. That is a record in terms of Premier League appearances. Unfortunately for Everton and for Seamus Coleman, it ended in defeat, and a damaging one too in terms of their dreams of European football. They, you would think, are all but over as they prepare to go to Tottenham for the final weekend of the Premier League season, while Sunderland, well, their hopes of returning to Europe for the first time in over 50 years are alive and well. They will host Chelsea at the Stadium of Light next weekend. David Moyes now joins his players on the pitch, applauds the supporters. He'll be a frustrated man, but at the same time he will want those remaining inside this stadium to give Seamus Coleman the send-off that he so richly deserves.
Sunderland, if they beat Chelsea in their final game of the season and one of Brentford lose at Anfield or Brighton lose to Manchester United, then Sunderland will have the opportunity to play European football next season. There is, of course, the spectre of Chelsea just behind them, 2 points behind, but with that game in hand. Let's check back in on France-England in Bordeaux in the Women's Six Nations decider. Maz.
Well, it's taken them a little bit of time, but England have found their groove now, Steve. A mistake from France as they tried to get forward in England's half. That was pounced on by England's backs. Ellie Kildun then putting on the afterburners to touch down under the post. That try converted as well. So England lead in Le Crunch for the first time this afternoon. It's France 7, England 14 as we approach half-time.
Maz, thank you very much indeed. I'm afraid I've got some really sad news to bring you now on 5 Live. The former British Lion and Scotland international Scott Hastings has died at the age of 61. When he retired back in 2000, Scott was Scotland's most capped player with 65 caps. He was twice a British Lion, and we can speak to our correspondent Chris Jones. This is just horrible news, Chris.
Tragic news, Steve. As Scottish Rugby say in their statement, Scott Hastings was one of Scotland's finest sons. Is one of Scotland's finest sons. As a player, his CV speaks for itself. 65 caps, which in the era he played, that is a huge amount of recognition. You know, they played fewer Test matches in Scott Hastings' day. These were huge matches, and to play 65 times for your country in that period from sort of when he debuted in the 80s onwards. An unbelievable achievement alongside his brother Gavin, older brother Gavin, two greats of Scottish rugby. And while many would say Gavin was Scotland's greatest ever player, Scott isn't far behind. You know, a Grand Slam winner in 1990. Scotland fans can remember that tackle on Rory Underwood. Underwood's through and Scott Hastings sized him down. Brilliant tackle. 1989, the Lions came into the team in the second test alongside Jerry Guscott, helped turn it around, a famous series win for the Lions. Scott Hastings was at the heart of that. So as a player, one of Scotland's all-time greats. As a man, an extraordinary individual, the life and soul of the party, his charity work, his effervescence in his media work, his positivity. We're lucky enough to have him on 5 Live a few times in the past and just spoke with such passion and positivity about the game. The way he stoically handled his wife's tragic death in 2024. There's an amazing interview he did on BBC Breakfast last year about going back to the place where his wife died. So it's such sad news. He did beat cancer a few years back. The cancer then returned. There were complications with the treatment, which led to his untimely death at the age of 61. But someone who will be so sorely missed by friends and family, of course, but the whole wider rugby and sporting community, someone who really transcended rugby in Scotland and will be so sorely missed.
You mentioned his charity work there, and he did an incredible amount, both for Mind Scotland, the mental health charity. He was also a big supporter of the Ewan MacDonald Centre, which is a research centre which looks at motor neurone disease. And this is somebody who just seems like he could turn his hand to anything and had time for everything, because this is an unbelievable life that we're talking about here in all senses.
100%. And, you know, the player, the man, one of the best in all different parts of his life. You know, you feel so sorry for his children, his brother Gavin, who a great friend of ours on 5 Live, who was our Scotland voice on 5 Live for so many years. And, you know, Scott, who was on ITV for decades as a commentator, recently in the Six Nations. Audience were just so captivated by his positivity, by his enthusiasm for the game, by his sort of his boundless energy and his the way he supported the sport, but supported so many different other things as well. You mentioned his charity work, what he did for mental health, and what he did for MND, and how closely he supported Doddy Weir through his diagnosis and treatment. So it's such a great loss. It's such a great loss to rugby union, such a great loss to sport. And I was chatting to Tom English, our colleague, and we were just talking about Scott's legacy earlier. And one of those people in a football-mad country like Scotland, and we've seen that, haven't we, the last few weeks about how football has gripped the country. But if you were to ask anyone on the street, name me a rugby player, they'd say the Hastings boys, Gavin and Scott Hastings, two all-timers when it comes to Scotland sports. So yeah, it's you just all the best wishes to his friends and family who are going through a horrible time at the moment, because Scott really was a very special rugby player and a really special bloke too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned one of his many iconic moments, and I've just been watching as we've been talking there, and it was Rory Underwood, wasn't it, the England winger who was going through, and then Scott Hastings, so close to the line, drags him down. Try seems inevitable. It's that immediately the rugby image that people will recall.
A textbook tackle. And for me growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, that Scotland Grand Slam, that 1989 Tour of the Lions were such massive moments in the sport, and Scott Hastings was right at the heart of those. Scotland haven't won a Grand Slam since then, and there is a new era of Scotland players who may go on to be all-time greats if they're not already, the likes of Finn Russell. But given Scotland rugby had this period, or still has this period really, where they've not been able to replicate the success of the 1990 Grand Slam, players like Scott Hastings, what they achieved, he is really one of the all-time greats in Scottish rugby. And although Gavin was the captain the Lions in 93, probably had that little bit higher profile as a player, kicked all those points, Scott Hastings, in his own right, was an all-time Scottish great as a rugby player, and that's just one of the many moments. But if you think of great moments in Scottish Rugby Union, you think of the Grand Slam in 90, you think of great Lions moments and the Tour of Australia in 89, Scott Hastings was right in the middle of it all.
Chris, thank you very much. That's our correspondent, Chris Jones. We're also going to bring in Ian Carter as well now. Of course, he's our golf correspondent, but spent many years covering rugby as well. Ian, what would you like to say about Scott Hastings?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is that, I grew up as a fan of Scottish rugby. I was, despite my accent, of Scottish heritage, and I've always supported Scotland. And Scott Hastings was one of those players that I considered a hero. Just watching Scotland play, and for all the reasons that Chris has just detailed there, the iconic moments that he shared in playing for Scotland, and the iconic moments that he created, and then to subsequently then cover Scotland for quite a few years, it was always extraordinary to me that someone that I consider to be such a hero would be such a great down-to-earth bloke who would be so welcoming. I'd work with Gavin covering the matches, but we'd always see Scott there, and he would always be just so welcoming, such a gentleman, and so down-to-earth, and just a lovely human being.
Oh, just sending all our love and support to the whole Hastings family and all of their close friends as well. It's such awful news. Scott Hastings, former British Lion and Scotland international, has died at the age of 61. And Ian, look, nothing really matters from a sporting sense when you talk about these kind of things. But obviously we've got you out there covering the final round of the USPJ Championship. So why don't you bring us up to date?
Yeah, well, just to say that there is proof that it is possible to go super low on this golf course, because Kurt Kitayama, the American, has gone out very early today. It's swelteringly hot here. The wind is still blowing, but he's shot a 63 today, so he's moved up from the very back markers to a share of 7th place at 3 under par. Remember, it's Alex Smalley who's going to lead going into the final round here. 6 under par, 2 shots clear of Matty Schmidt, with whom he'll play, the German. Nick Taylor of Canada and John Rahm at 4 under. The leading Briton, Aaron Rai, at 4 under. He'll be playing alongside Ludwig Aubert. But watch out for the pack at 3 under. Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele and Patrick Reed, especially, all major winning golfers. It's going to be quite the shootout, I think, tonight.
Ian, thank you very much. Sports Extra then for coverage from 8 o'clock before joining 5 Live at 9. Let's check back in on France-England in that Women's Six Nations decider. Maz Faruqi.
Third converted try for England, Steve. Jess Breach just sneaking in the right corner with the conversion then from Zoe Harrison. So after a difficult first 15 minutes, the world champions are really turning the screw now in Bordeaux. Looks like they're just going to touch down for their 4th try, yes, Ellie Kildun, as the clock turns red at the end of the first half. So that's the 4 tries and the bonus point already for England in the 40 minutes as the clock is just going to go red, and they're just going to take this conversion kick before half time. So the title defence well and truly on for England. Remember, something they haven't done before after a World Cup win. So France 7, England 26 at the moment, with the conversion kick to come.
It is half-time in the FA Trophy final at Wembley. Southend United against Wealdstone. Sahil Sahi.
Yeah, Southend nil, Wilstone nil. A cautious first half, only one clear chance. That fell to Southend as early as the 6th minute when Harry Cardwell burst into the penalty area and he let fly a right-footed shot which zipped across goal and hit the foot of the post. Half-time, Southend nil, Wilstone nil.
Sahil, thank you very much. Quick reminder then of all the day's full times. In the Scottish Premiership, finished Dundee 3, Aberdeen 2, Livingston 1, Kilmarnock 4, St Mirren 1, Dundee United 1. In the Premier League, Manchester United beat Nottingham Forest by 3-2. It finished Brentford 2, Crystal Palace 2, Everton 1, Sunderland 3, Leeds 1, Brighton 0, and Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Fulham 1. So, full commentary now then on 5 Live of a massive game, especially for West Ham United down the bottom of the Premier League. They're at Newcastle. Full commentary with Andy Reid and Ailey Barber.
Good afternoon from St James's Park. Blue skies above, but the floodlights on as evening will descend, and what an atmosphere, as it always is inside St James's Park, for one final time this season. But all eyes will be on West Ham, and if they can get the victory that will take them out of the bottom 3. Should they fail to do that and Tottenham beat Chelsea on Tuesday night, their 14-year stay in the Premier League will be over. It is a massive game for the visitors, Andy, and what a place to have to come and try and get a victory.
Yeah, well, look at Newcastle at a home team, and these fans have come to see the team, but the story here is West Ham. Really, it's can they get enough to scrape over the line? They're in a really precarious situation and they need a hell of a performance today, and Nuno's just walked out there. We can see him, he's been in this situation before, and he's just hoping that them players that he's put on the pitch today can come up with something big for them.
They are in a claret and white huddle at the moment as they now break away. They know the significance of these final 2 games of the season, and they come up against a Newcastle side who have very little really left to play for this season. Safe in terms of what's happening below them. European football a step too far for them this season, so they will be playing for pride and to end the season in front of their home fans on a positive note. We have had beautiful tributes to Kieran Trippier, who plays for his 160th time for Newcastle and final time here at St James's Park. So the team's lined up, we are ready to go. West Ham in their claret shirts, white shorts, white socks, playing from our left to right. Newcastle in their black and white stripes, black shorts, black socks, playing from our right to left. I will run you through the 2 teams very quickly. 3 changes for Newcastle. Trippier, Ramsey, Barnes are in. Joe Linton, Murphy and Byrne go out. So it is Nick Pope in goal. A back 4 of Hall, Botman, Chow and Trippier. Guimaraes and Tonali in midfield. Nick Voltemada just in front of him. Then Barnes and Ramsey flanking Will Oshola up front. And it is Newcastle who are in possession on the halfway line and looking to start the first promising attack, Andy.
Yeah, they are. It started off probably as we would expect, with Newcastle dominating possession. West Ham, as Nuno's teams tend to do, they drop into that kind of mid to low block. They've got a back 3, plenty of players in them areas, and Newcastle will be hoping to play through them.
Oshola just up against the defence, finds Voltemada just outside the penalty area, drops it to Tonali, sweeps it over to this left hand side, but it's too high for Ramsey. So let me run you through the West Ham team. Just the 1 change. Out goes Castellanos up front, in comes former Newcastle man Callum Wilson. So Hermansen in goal, a back 3 of Disasi, Mavropanos and Todibo. Across the midfield, Diouf on the left, Wan-Bissaka on the right, Fernandes and Souček in the middle, Somerville and Bowen supporting Wilson. And what a day for Callum Wilson, his first return to St James's Park, and he might be about to get on the end of an attack down this left hand side with Diouf.
Yeah, I think from a West Ham perspective, I think you'd be pleased to see Callum Wilson come in. Castellanos, although he has done well and he's looked bright at times, I'm not too sure he's got as much of a goal threat as Callum Wilson. You wouldn't bet against him getting a goal against his former club here today.
You can hear the atmosphere inside St James's Park. The West Ham supporters high up to our left hand side will be trying to make as much noise as they can as Bowen turns away from Ramsey, but he gets a foot in the Newcastle player and wins it back. Now on this left hand side, inside his own area, his own half, looking for options, gets knocked over by Wan-Bissaka, but play on, says referee Jared Gillett, and Bowen is on the ball. He's got Somerville just inside him and out to this left-hand side to Diouf, level with the edge of the penalty area. Back with Somerville, looking for options ahead of him, and West Ham will need to find some cutting edge today. They need goals. It has been a problem for them this season. Back with Diouf on that left touchline. It is West Ham enjoying plenty of possession, but as yet unable to really get the ball into any sort of threatening area. Wan-Bissaka just keeps it in on that right hand side, flicks it over Hall's head, now plays it into Souček, gets it back onto the byline, cross in towards the back post, headed clear by Trippier. Disasi will win it back, and his header goes all the way out for a goal kick.
Yeah, it was positive for West Ham that they kept the ball really well, and I think if you look at the shape, you've got a back five. Obviously, if them wing backs can get high, Wan-Bissaka and Diouf can cause problems. And then you've got 2 6s in Souček and Fernandes, and what you find will happen is Somerville and Bowen will come in off them wide areas into the pockets and try and outnumber that Newcastle midfield in there, and they've done it well so far. I can see how they might get some joy from it, so tactically they could be alright.
Mavropanos under pressure from Osula. Mavropanos slips and Osula picks up the ball, left edge of the penalty area, flicks it away from Souček. He's got Ramsey for support. Now Guimaraes out to the right edge of the penalty area, and it's chopped in by Barnes, and Osula just couldn't get on the end of it. That was danger, and that is going to be some battle, Will Osula and Mavropanos.
Yeah, he works really hard, he does, still, and Mavropanos there, and we speak tactically, and we're talking about how the formations might match up against each other, but what you can't legislate for is mistakes like that. It's people taking too long on the ball, dwelling on the ball, because Newcastle, we know they're going to come with a lot of energy. They're a pressing team, they like to get after. West Ham players can't afford to make silly mistakes like that.
Well, it is half-time in the Women's Six Nations decider between France and England. Maz Faruqi.
Yeah, just to confirm, Ailey, that conversion kick was missed. The first one missed by Zoe Harrison. After that 4th try for England with the clock in the red at the end of the first half, that a second try of the match for Ellie Kildun. But that's what seems to be rounding off a very good comeback after a difficult first 15 minutes for England. Half-time in the title decider, France 7, England 26.
So England getting the job done as things stand. There is full commentary of that game on 5 Live Sports Extra, or you can also watch it on BBC One as that Newcastle ball goes all the way through to Hermansen in the West Ham goal, and now up with Wilson, but he's not able to pop it off to Bowen. It's won back by Guimaraes, and Trippier flicks it over the top looking for Barnes, who's up against Todibo, does well. Barnes on that right hand side drops it into Guimaraes, who finds Osula just inside the penalty area. Back now with Guimaraes on the edge of the area. Newcastle trying to work the space to get the ball into the box. And are you surprised at all that Harvey Barnes is starting on that right hand side? I expected him to start potentially on the left.
Yeah, I think we'll find him drifting though. I think the type of players that they've got across the forward lines, I think you will end up seeing him dropping into the pocket. Sometimes he will drift out into the wide area, so I think there's a good degree of flexibility in the Newcastle forward line.
The ball into the area now, and that is easy for Mavropanos to knock it clear, but it will be a Newcastle throw-in just on the edge of the penalty area. So 5 minutes played here at St James's Park. It is still goalless between Newcastle and West Ham.
Newcastle are going to want this game. They won't mind a transitional type of game if there's spaces to hit. And if you look at a coach like Nuno, he likes to try and control the game, but not with the ball. He controls the game with the shape, and he likes to keep teams at bay, get plenty of men behind the ball, and hope to hit them on the break. So the more that Newcastle can open them up and can stretch the play and find gaps in between the units, and I think when the ball turns over, I think is really, really important. So the transitional aspect of this game today is going to be very important for both teams.
There have been some helter-skelter games here this season. I can think of the Newcastle-Liverpool game, the Newcastle-Leeds game. There have been some cracking games at St James's Park for the neutral, but for the home fans it's been a bit of a disappointing season in terms of their home form.
Yeah, it has been. They haven't had the joy that they would have liked, that's for sure. I think this club is, as far back as you can as you can remember, as I can remember anyway, they've always wanted attacking football. They've always wanted good attacking players end to end, and you think they can see goals, but you'll also score plenty of goals as well. And that's the type of games that these Newcastle fans love to see.
Thought you were going to get your head on that clearance from Lewis Hall. It was coming your way.
Came close. I was going to bring it down on my chest. Thought them days were gone.
I think that's what you call a shank. Sliced straight out of the pitch right towards us here. Thankfully it didn't get as far as us. I know you'd have got your head on it before it got to me.
Of course I would.
Cleared by Mavropanos long. That ball that came into the stand has now found its way onto the pitch, but we play on at the moment with Disasi, who's under pressure from Ramsey. Gets it up that line though to Bowen, who's now trying to run away from Tonali towards where that ball is. Tonali gets a foot in and it's going to just be stopped from going out for a corner. Does really well, the Italian, and now Hall gives him a helping hand and wins a throw-in down by that corner flag.
Yeah, it's brilliant from Tonali. As your midfielder, we want them to go forward, you want them to play in the front foot, but also when that ball goes in behind you, you have to work hard, you have to sprint back in. Every recovery run is a sprint, and Tonali done it brilliantly well there.
A player that Newcastle would deeply love to see here next season. Question marks over his future with Champions League football. Not on the cards next season for Newcastle, but what a player he has been for them this season, as there's a tangle of players on that far side. Oshola going down. The Newcastle fans wanted a free kick, nothing given, so now Mavropanos with an opportunity to start something for West Ham. Down the line from Disasi, Callum Wilson's going to try and get onto the end of it, but Botman able to just knock it back to Nick Pope, and Callum Wilson will be relishing, I'm sure, coming here. He says he won't celebrate against Newcastle if he scores, but I wonder if that changes if late on the game he gets a winner for West Ham in the position that they're in.
Yeah, he had a good time here. He was here for a couple of years and scored some important goals for them, but if he gets a goal for West Ham today, that could be vital in this relegation battle. It's so tight down there, and it looks like it's going to go right to the wire, but West Ham, they need everything that they can get, every point, every goal.
Did you celebrate against former clubs?
Yeah, I think I did. There seems to be more of a recent thing with players not celebrating against their old clubs.
Voltemada released down the right hand side, just under pressure from Mavropanos. Does well though and wins the corner kick for Newcastle, which Trippier will take on that far side. And it's been an interesting season for Newcastle. They've actually had their fewest wins, their most defeats, their fewest goals scored, their most goals conceded, and their lowest points per game at home this season compared to any other season under Eddie Howe. But they've had a fantastic run in the Champions League and another semi-final in the Cup.
Yeah, they have, and I do think it's a team in transition though. There's some changes going to be made in the summer.
Guimaraes puts it into a dangerous area. Ossola not able to get on the end of it, and Hermansen glad to see it come his way as he clutches it before Ossola can get a toe on it. So Newcastle with a couple of dangerous moments, but now it's Thomas Souček driving over the halfway line. You can see him looking, scanning for options. He finds Wan-Bissaka, first time ball into the area. It's long and it's deep and it's going to go right over the head of Callum Wilson, and now Trippier can knock it up the line to Oshola, who slips, and that will be picked up by Mavropanos. So West Ham can go again, and the important thing I imagine for West Ham, for Nuno, is that they do not give up hope that there's a way out of the situation that they're in. Oshola does really well though to skip away from a number of challenges, drags the shot, but it takes a deflection off Disasi, and it will be another Newcastle corner.
Yeah, there's one of them transitional moments that we spoke about. Fernandes gives the ball away and I guess played through the lines, and Asila does really well. He gets the ball, turns and drives at that West Ham back line. He twists and turns, goes for a shot on his left foot, and it was a good block in the end, but more positivity. But they're the type of things that Nuno doesn't want. He doesn't like the openness, he doesn't like space being in between the midfield and the back line.
So another opportunity for Newcastle from the corner. Kieran Trippier once again over the ball. Just a slight break in play at the moment. The referee has his arm raised. He is getting some information in his ear about a possible penalty, but I don't think that is going to stick. No penalty, no handball. I didn't see that handball actually from Thomas Souček.
Souček just had his elbow out a little bit. You just never know at the moment, do you?
There's the header coming in from Botman from the corner, but no bother for the West Ham defence, who get it clear. And now Callum Wilson trying to skip past Chow, does really well though, Chow, to just block him off. And now it's Harvey Barnes on that right side of the penalty area, cuts it across, cleared by Mavropanos, as far though as Voltemada on the edge of the area. And now that is, I thought, one back by Fernandes, but Voltemada's come clear with it. And now Lewis Hall, Newcastle beginning to put the pressure on here, and the home fans are beginning to enjoy what they're seeing as Ramsey on this left-hand side plays it into the byline to Hall, cuts it back across, cleared by Disasi. West Ham under real pressure though, as Wan-Bissaka now loses it. Tonali tries to flick it in, it comes off the chest of Disasi, and it will be another Newcastle corner.
Yeah, you just feel the pressure's building. You know, the crowd are starting to get more interested in it, getting behind their team, and what Newcastle are doing really well is when they give the ball away, they're counter-pressing, they're going after that ball, they're winning it back. It was Tonali that time, brilliant combination after he won it back in a dangerous moment. It was good defending at that near post.
This time Bruno Guimaraes on the corner duties from the left-hand side, right arm raised, and it goes towards the front post where Bowen heads it clear, but it's come off the head of Osula, and it will be a West Ham goal kick. And there's been a few, not quite accusations, but discussions perhaps about Newcastle and that sort of fear factor that they have had, the physicality that they've had under Eddie Howe, perhaps waned a little bit this season. And like you say, it feels like a bit of a transitional season at time for them. What do you expect Newcastle to do over the summer? Big changes?
Yeah, I do. I expect there to be plenty of changes. You know, I think there will be a bit of a rebuild, and I think you could find that Newcastle could look pretty different next season. You know, you mentioned there the real physicality that they've had over the last 4 or 5 years, and you do feel that that's waning a little bit. Some of it down to injuries, I get that, but I think the squad needs an injection of kind of new blood in there. It needs a bit of freshness in there. And that's what I expect to see, and I expect more physicality and some really good physical presence to come into that midfield for next season. And who goes, who stays, we don't quite know yet, but I expect 4 or 5.
Well, there are certainly a huge number of players linked, as there always is at this time of year, as Voltemada sends a crossfield ball right out of play. I'm not sure what the intention was there from Voltemada, but it is a West Ham throw-in deep inside their own half. 14 and a half minutes played at St James's Park, and it is still goalless, as a poor pass towards Todibo is cut out by Barnes. And now Newcastle back in the attack, right edge of the penalty area. Barnes looking for options, finds Voltemada, and he knocks it into the bottom right hand corner, and West Ham are causing all their own problems. A beautiful measured cross from Harvey Barnes to Nick Voltemada, who scores his first goal since December in the Premier League. And Nuno Espirito Santo's head is bowed, because this is the last thing that West Ham needed. It is Newcastle 1, West Ham 0.
Well, really well worked from a Newcastle point of view, but you mentioned there West Ham and the creators of their own downfall. It's a poor pass out from Hermanson, and Harvey Barnes is alive to it. He's on the front foot, he anticipates a poor pass, he jumps onto it, lifts it over to Debo, and then when he gets into that assist zone, kind of in line with the 6-yard box, it's a lovely cutback. He just lifts it slightly. Voltemada is there with a volley inside of his right foot, cushions it into that far post, just in the inside of the far post. Really easy goal, really well worked goal, but poor from a West Ham point of view, and exactly what they didn't want.
It's a lovely finish from Voltemada, who's had his critics this season, the big striker, since his move from Stuttgart. He started the season so well, but he'll be delighted to get on the score sheet. 17 Premier League games without a goal, and he's found one in his last game of this season at St James's Park.
Yeah, Harvey Barnes put it on a plate for him. He done brilliant, he really did. Anticipation that you want from your forward players. If you sense there's a mistake coming, that mistake did come, and he was on the front foot, he was alive to it. And then after, when he got into the box, he kept driving, got in line with the 6-yard box and just clipped it back. Lovely weight on the cross, and he didn't leave Voltemada with much to do. Lovely, well worked goal.
So Newcastle take the lead here at St James's Park, and there are many questions for Nuno to answer. Just seen a shot of him there on the monitor in front of us, and he's looking pretty disconsolate at the moment. West Ham gifting Newcastle an opportunity with a poor pass out from the back, but Harvey Barnes showed the composure to find Nick Voltemada with the cross. So now West Ham have to respond. Pass up to Bowen, couldn't quite control it, and it'll go out for a Newcastle throw-in. And Newcastle, they look like they're enjoying themselves now here in front of their home fans for the final time this season.
Yeah, there's a good tempo to the play. They're pressing, they're waiting on their mistakes. They're trying to jump on everything. When the ball turns over, they're committing so many bodies forward.
Trippier finds Ramsey, his cross though blocked and out by Todibo for a Newcastle throw-in up next to that corner flag on the right hand side. And there's always a positive energy in this stadium, particularly when the home side get their noses in front, as they have done now. As Tonali scans ahead of him, cuts back towards the right hand side, tries to feed it to Guimaraes, who slips, but Barnes is there to pick up the loose ball. Back with Chow and Botman in the centre circle. All the Newcastle outfield players in West Ham's half. Chow, lovely pass through the midfield to Voltemadu, who flicks it over the top, and that was a very important touch from Mavropanos, because Harvey Barnes was about to get on the end of that.
Yeah, he needed to be alive there. It was lovely play from Voltemadu. Ball ends up popping up and he just flicks it over the top. Harvey Barnes is running onto it, timed it perfectly, and Mavropanos had to be alive to it. I do always think with Nuno's teams, it becomes really difficult for them when they go a goal down, because they have to come up. We mentioned earlier, he likes his teams to control the game without the ball and kind of keep that good shape and not leave many gaps between the units. But when they go a goal down, they have to come out and they have to kind of leave gaps behind where they go and press, and I think they struggle. And West Ham, now that they've gone a goal down, and Newcastle in full flow, there's gaps all over the pitch.
Wonderful pass into the path of Osula, into the area, strike through the legs of Hermansen, and Newcastle double their lead. And that was a sweeping move from Newcastle down the right hand side. Wonderful pass from Ramsey into the path of Osula, who has been on fantastic form of late. He showed great composure to just slot it low beneath the legs of Hermansen, and it is Newcastle 2, West Ham 0.
Yeah, Newcastle are running riot now. We mentioned them gaps. When that ball turns over, finding space in between the units, and it's a lovely well-worked goal. It really is. It's a great through ball, and I think the question that you ask of Osula when he gets into that 1v1 situation, can he keep his composure? Can he find that slotted finish? And he does that brilliantly well. But the timing of the run and the weight of the pass, excellent goal from Newcastle again, and it's not looking good for West Ham United.
It certainly is not. 2 goals down after just 19 and a half minutes. If they lose today and Tottenham beat Chelsea on Tuesday, that will be it in terms of their Premier League campaign. It will be over for West Ham. And Callum Wilson, I can see him out on the halfway line. He's trying to get his teammates going. He's trying to lift them, because at the moment they are in a terrible position. But Will Osula, 5 goals now in his last 8 in the Premier League that he's played in. He has come good for Newcastle right at the end of the season, and when you look at next season, he could be a huge player for the club. Yeah, no, absolutely. And Eddie Howe has kind of stuck with him. He's given him opportunities, played him, given him a run in the team, and he's repaid him there. That goal, we think about there's been 2 brilliant assists, one from Harvey Barnes, and I'm pretty sure it was Jacob Ramsey that time. The weight of pass where he split the defence, brilliant assist he got against Nottingham Forest last week. Ramsey's got another one today. Time and weight of pass, and a lovely finish. West Ham, though, have won themselves a corner, their first of the match, so an opportunity perhaps to try and bounce straight back and get themselves back into this game. The referee just sorting out a few coming togethers between Souček and Botman in the penalty area, just trying to get everybody separated. Terrible job the referees have now, as we saw in the game at West Ham at the weekend, trying to sort out what goes on at corner kicks. But Jared Bowen launches it in left-footed, and Mavropanos rises. It goes above his head though, and Bruno Guimaraes just launches it clear. Anywhere will do. But look at Will Osula just driving forward, trying to put pressure on Wan-Bissaka. Hermansen out though, launches it clear, and now Botman gets his head on it, but it falls to Bowen, who cuts it inside to Souček. But Tonali, as vivacious as he is, wins it back off Souček's toes. Newcastle back in possession, deep in their own half though, and Tonali spreads it clear, looking for Osula, picked up in the centre circle by Todibo. And West Ham need to find an answer.
Yeah, they need to try and find something, and it looks at this point in time like it will be from a set piece, could be their kind of best option. They haven't created anything from open play yet. They haven't been able to get through that Newcastle defence and get a shot on goal or really work the keeper.
Souček, right edge of the penalty area, twisting, gets the cross in, but it takes a deflection. It's going to fall to Fernandes, but his shot is blocked by Guimaraes, and now Trippier under pressure from Diouf, and that will be a free kick to Newcastle right on the edge of their own penalty area. And West Ham, you can see the body language out there. There's a couple of comments going back and forward to players. It doesn't look good for them.
Yeah, body language has dropped, and I suppose understandably so, but they need to keep fighting for the football club. They need to come up with a bit of energy. They need to try and stick together somehow. It's really difficult, there's no doubt about that. And coming to a place like this, the last home game of the season for Newcastle, the fans are right up for it. You can hear the atmosphere is incredible, and Newcastle as a team, some of the football they've played so far and how they've played through the lines, found the gaps in between the units, and the accuracy of the forward passing has been really good. West Ham are struggling to come to terms with that.
Newcastle enjoying a lot of the ball here, knocking it around nicely. Botman just inside West Ham's half finds Hall, and he's going to cut back inside to Chow inside the centre circle, but plenty of options ahead of them. Plays it through the middle to Ramsey to Voltemada, in first time to Guimaraes, and that was again a really important touch, but Newcastle playing through West Ham with ease.
Yeah, look, the football from Newcastle is brilliant. There's lovely 1- and 2-touch combination play in the central areas. Voltemada that time, and plenty of West Ham defenders there, but they look like they're struggling to pick up them spaces. They don't know whether to come or go. They don't know whether to jump in tight. The formation is hurting them, and players coming into them positions in between the units.
Guimaraes cross goes all the way through to Hermansen. Another dangerous ball in, but straight to the goalkeeper, and he's looking for options, and there's 4 West Ham players who were just standing, not moving forward. And is that fear, that pressure of making a mistake, of leaving space open? They're already 2-0 down though, so they have to go for it.
Yeah, they do. Having said that, if they come out and open up too much, the way Newcastle are playing here, this could be 5 or 6. It really could. You just get the sense that Newcastle are well up for it, and the 3 players in behind Osula, Ramsey, Barnes and Voltemada, they're playing brilliantly well. They're picking up pockets, they're dropping into them number 10 positions. There's great rotations between them, and Fernandes and Souček, they don't know who to pick up. There's that many bodies everywhere, they can't get to grips with them at all.
He's had a wonderful season, Harvey Barnes. A lot of it perhaps lost in the Anthony Gordon form and whether he's staying or going, but now Barnes into that right edge of the penalty area, feeds it to Guimaraes, whose cross goes long and will be picked up by Wan-Bissaka, but his pass is now picked up from Guimaraes, but it was a foul on Bowen, so it will be a West Ham free kick. But Harvey Barnes, sort of one of the unsung heroes of this Newcastle team this season, I feel.
Yeah, he is. He's always a threat. Right from his Leicester days, he always say he's very positive in possession. He likes to take on the 1v1 duels. There's plenty more to come from him as well. He's a really, really talented footballer.
Well, Nuno is rolling the dice. He's bringing on Castellanos, and he's taking off defender Todibo. This is a big call from Nuno, but a call that something had to be done.
Yeah, he's gone to a back 4. It looks like it's going to be a 4-4-2. You've got the back 4 in there. You'll have Souček and Fernandes in midfield, and then up top then you've got Castellanos and Wilson with Somerville out on the left and Bowen out on the right. And he has to do something. They're going to have to play more direct. They're going to have to try and get them 2 centre forwards into the game and see if they can somehow fashion a chance.
Bowen scrapping with Ramsey, but it's Ramsey who comes away with the ball, and Newcastle again win possession, but Castellanos just trying to put the pressure on Botman, who was very cool and calm as he fed the ball to Hall, and now Hall finds Voltemada, and Newcastle able to come forward again as Guimaraes is tripped by Castellanos.
Yeah, look, I can understand why Nuno has done what he's done, but at the same time I'm actually quite fearful of how that looks now. If you look at that 4-4-2, Souček and Fernandes are in there, and they're trying to combat with Tonali Guimaraes and Voltemade, who's in the 10, but also what you've got Ramsey dropping in narrow, and you've got Harvey Barnes dropping in narrow as well, and at times it's almost like a 5v2 in that midfield area, and it's it's all right if you've got the ball and you can get the ball forward, but when Newcastle are in possession playing through the lines, there's such a big overload in that midfield area. I really fear for West Ham. This could be any scoreline.
Well, Castellanos has just fouled Bruno Guimaraes for the second time in the minute or so he's been on, and has had a big word from referee Jared Gillett, so he will need to watch himself already as West Ham try to find a way back into this game. Newcastle 2, West Ham 0, 27 minutes played. It is the worst possible start for West Ham. A victory would have taken them out of the bottom 3 and really put the pressure on Spurs, who play Chelsea on Tuesday night. But as things stand, Spurs could send West Ham down on Tuesday night with a victory and ensure their Premier League survival. And it's probably worth noting that Spurs are unbeaten in their last 4 games under De Zerbi, so they have found form at the right time. West Ham have not, but Somerville wins it, trying to drive forward. Was that a trip? It was, by Guimaraes. So West Ham free kick just on the halfway line.
Yeah, I know, we mentioned just before the game that the story is West Ham and what division they'll potentially be in next season. But I think we have to really appreciate this Newcastle performance so far. First half an hour has been brilliant, scintillating football. Some of the positions they've took up, the pace of the play and the positivity, how they look forward, they look to play forward every time they can. Line breaking passes, getting their attacking players on the ball in really good areas. It's been a pleasure to watch.
It has been a difficult season for Newcastle in a lot of ways, but they are ending it here at St James's Park, certainly on a high. But as the ball comes in for Somerville, and it's Castellanos, and did that come off the post or was it saved? Ball comes in, that one is saved by Pope, and it's gone out to Lewis Hall. But that was the first opportunity for West Ham as Hall just runs it out of play. West Ham take the throw in quickly. Wilson to Souček. And now you can hear the West Ham supporters up onto our left hand side trying to urge their team on. And Castellanos very nearly making a telling contribution from the bench.
Yeah, it was the first chance that they've had. Really well worked actually from West Ham, and ball comes into the box. Now that you've got 2 forwards, that's where they need to make the most of it. Castellanos got good contact on it, and it was a really good save from Pope. And when the ball came back out to Juve, he struck it across the goal. Couldn't see whether it was going in or not, but Pope couldn't take any chances. So first couple of big moments for West Ham, and that'll give them a little bit of hope, a little bit of something to cling on to.
There was a save from Nick Pope as we get the replay. A really good ball across, and what a save that was from Nick Pope with his left arm, just reaching it out and then following it up with another one.
Yeah, it was a really strong arm, and it was almost identical to the Voltemade goal, except from the other side where Barnes got into that bit down by the touchline and pulled it back for Voltemade. Somerville done exactly the same thing for Castellanos there, but Pope was alive to it and he needed to be.
Bowen with the cross, a ball across, and it's cleared. Doesn't go out for the corner though. Lewis Hall stops it just on the byline, and now Newcastle try and get it clear, but it comes back from West Ham only as far as Tonali, but Tonali with a poor pass. Dew picks it up midway between the halfway line and the penalty area. West Ham on the front foot, but 2 goals down here at St James's Park. Coming down the left hand side with Fernandes, looking for options ahead of him. He's got Diouf, and his ball into the area goes to Wilson. Wilson with a header back across, and there is Souček down on the chest, trying to get it under control, just can't get it to drop, and Bruno Guimaraes takes it away for Newcastle. So let's head back to the Women's Six Nations. There's been another try in the decider between France and England. Maz Farouki.
And for France, their second of the match, Ailey, and Ace Grando crossing for that with 15 minutes of the second half played, and that's been converted as well. So they're making a dent in England's lead in Bordeaux, France, and they're pushing for a third try as well. Really strong start for them to the second 40. So it's France 14, England 29 midway through the second half.
There is full commentary of that game on 5 Live Sports Extra right now if you would like to listen, or you can watch on BBC One. But here at St James's Park, Newcastle 2, West Ham 0. Just over half an hour played. West Ham though have made a change, brought on a second striker, gone to a 4-4-2 to try and get themselves back into the game, and they've had a few opportunities, Andy Reid.
Yeah, they have. Look, this is not the type of game that Nuno would have wanted it to be. He doesn't like open games. He doesn't want his teams to be kind of really exposed and to be really stretched. But you go 2-0 down here at Newcastle, you've got no choice. You have to go on the front foot. For the neutral, it's going to make it really, really good. The game is going to get more and more stretched as it moves on, and there's already been plenty of gaps, plenty of spaces that Newcastle have exposed, and it's just from a West Ham point of view, can they take a chance to just get this crowd and just get this Newcastle team a little bit edgy?
Diouf with the ball on the left hand side finds Souček busy in that midfield, but so is Tonali, putting him under pressure, now trying to put Mavropanos under pressure, but Bowen picks it up inside to Castellanos, who leaves it for Wilson. Options to his left, he finds Somerville, who shifts it between his feet, trying to get away from Trippier. Now plays it to Wan-Bissaka, who leaves it for Bowen on this right hand side. West Ham going from left to right, but so far still 25 yards or so away from Newcastle's penalty area. Fernandes, Somerville, who's dropped deep, skips away from Osula, finds Bowen, now looks for the return, but Bowen drops it back to Fernandes, and West Ham enjoying plenty of the ball, but they can't get through what is now a very compact Newcastle backline.
Yeah, Newcastle have dropped into a low block at the moment, but they look pretty comfortable with it. But we're just saying, from a West Ham perspective, put the ball into the box.
And there is the ball in the box, but Castellanos' shot was blocked, and it's fallen to Newcastle's feet again. Tonali, lovely turn, feeds Voltemada, and now Ramsey. West Ham trying to press them back, but Newcastle find a way out. Lovely pass across the penalty area to Chow, and now an opportunity for Newcastle to get forward. Trippier brings it over the halfway line, plays it into Ramsey in that central position, out to Voltemada, but that is cut out by Wan-Bissaka, who limps slightly as he does that, but he looks to be okay. Now Wilson picks it up in the centre circle. Somerville trying to feed it through to Bowen, blocked, falls back to Somerville, and now he goes down. Slight tug from Ramsey. It will be a West Ham free kick.
It's a really good open game now, though, isn't it? Both teams want to get goals, both teams on the front foot, and every time the ball turns over, committing men forward. I don't think it'll be too long before we see another goal in this game.
Lovely crossfield pass to Diouf, left edge of the penalty area, finds Castellanos' touch. He's got bodies all around him, and it's had to come off one of them, and it's actually come back off Castellanos, who is claiming for the corner, but it will be a Nick Pope goal kick for Newcastle, much to the disgust of the Argentinian.
Yeah, he's not happy with that, but it looked like the referee got that decision right. West Ham will be pleased enough, and Nuno will be pleased enough with the last 5 or 6 minutes. They've been a lot more on the front foot. I would just probably, from their point of view, like them to see them got more balls into the box. You've got Wilson, Castellanos, and Souček is making late runs from deep into the box. 3 players that are good in the air. So when Bowen does come back on that left foot, can he whip it in there and give them a chance to go and attack it?
Yeah, Thomas Souček actually has more goals against Newcastle than any other Premier League club, 5 of them in his time in England. So certainly a team he enjoys scoring against, but it is Newcastle coming forward over the halfway line with Guimaraes. Ramsey drops it off to Voltemada, back to Guimaraes, who continues driving forward, flicks it over the top, looking for Osula, just can't get the ball under control. Lovely idea from Guimaraes, but Osula just unable to get a toe in it.
Yeah, more brilliant play from Newcastle though. Guimaraes at the heart of it. He's playing combinations, playing through, they're creating a lovely little triangle in and around that 10 position there, and he's tried to flick it over Mavropanos, and I think Osula got caught in 2 minds there. Should he take a shot on, or should he try and control it? And he did neither in the end.
Well, Guimaraes comes forward again, very lively this afternoon. The Newcastle captain, named in Brazil's preliminary World Cup squad alongside Joe Linton, as Tonali launches it into the area just over the head of Osula, now cleared by Wan-Bissaka. Now Guimaraes challenging with Souček, but West Ham get it clear as far as Wilson, who flicks it around past Botman, but I don't think he'll beat Botman for pace. No, he won't. He does well, the defender, to feed Hall, and it's just another wave of Newcastle attacks at the moment for West Ham to try and thwart, as Botman picks up the ball deep in his own half and just trying to calm things down, I think.
Yeah, look at the next goal in this game, should I say, is vitally important. If West Ham get the next goal, It could just give a little creep, a bit of doubt could creep in here, but if it's Newcastle then it's game over. So I think where that comes next could be the key to the game.
Well, Newcastle coming forward again through Guimaraes, who's got Ramsey to his left-hand side, back to Guimaraes. Newcastle trying to launch another attack, finding Trippier over on that right-hand side, but that's cut out by Diouf and it's out for a throw-in. So let's head back to the Women's Six Nations, France against England, Maz Faruqi.
Where it could be getting interesting, a third converted try for France, another one from Pauline Bourdon, so they're cutting that England lead again, and this is the really interesting part of the game, the last 20 minutes when usually England have the superior placements, the superior fitness over their opponents, but what can France perhaps conjure up in Le Crunch? France 21, England 29, 63 minutes played.
Fascinating end to that decider at the top of the Women's Six Nations. You can listen to full commentary on 5 Live Sports Extra. It is also on BBC One, as Newcastle have won yet another corner here at St James's Park. They lead by 2-0. 37 minutes played of the first half, as Guimaraes just grabs a little drink before he places the ball on the quadrant. He's got Lewis Hall up there alongside him. He played it short last time, will this time go into the mixer as Newcastle look to kill this game off before half-time. Right-footed, in it goes towards the back post where Chow was lurking, but Mavropanos there to head it clear. Will be yet another Newcastle corner.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of corners like that nowadays where teams try and put a block in at the back post and see if one player can just peel off and find a little bit of space. They've done it there, and it was a really good ball, and West Ham defence had to be alive to it.
Kieran Trippier getting a nice little round of applause as he picks up the ball and puts it down at that far side. He'll take the corner from the right hand side. A outswinger from Trippier, raises his left arm. This one's going to come in as well, and it does, and it's Mavropanos again who heads it away. Tonali's there to win it on the edge of the area though, but no one in a Newcastle shirt to get on the end of that. Souček launches it clear, and now West Ham look to try and start something going. Wilson chasing down Guimaraes. Guimaraes there knocks it back to Pope, who just clears it, and it's Voltemada in between 2 West Ham players who wins the ball on the centre circle, and Newcastle can come again. Barnes, Trippier plays it back to Barnes. Too much on that, out for a goal kick.
Yeah, but you can see where all the problems are coming from. Them 3 lads that are just behind the Sulla. Voltemada has been really good. He's taken up some excellent positions, very clever with his positional play. But Barnes on one side, and probably in particular Ramsey, he's been really good. He's drifted into pockets there. Wan-Bissaka has started to is really struggled to pick up. The timing of his movement is good, and his quality when he's got it and turn and look for them forward passes has been great to watch.
Ramsey and Voltemada, 2 of the summer signings, and there's been a lot of question marks over Newcastle's summer signings, but when you see them playing on a day like today, you think perhaps a season to bed into life here in the northeast, and then perhaps next season we could see the best from both of them if they still stay.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I don't think, I think Ramsey has plenty of ability. I think he's a good player, particularly in possession, so we haven't seen the best of him in the Newcastle shirt yet, but when you see him playing like he is today, and he looks confident, he's, like you said, he's finding the spaces, he's looking to be positive every time he gets it, he's already got an assist with a brilliant through ball. You can see why these Newcastle fans would start to like him, but he's still got an awful lot to do to convince these Newcastle fans.
Well, it is a free kick for West Ham, halfway between the halfway line and the edge of the penalty area, just towards that left-hand side. Diouf and Fernandes standing over it. West Ham players all inside that penalty area. A good delivery required. 41 minutes on the clock. Getting one back before half-time would certainly be a positive, but it's a poor delivery all the way out. And there will be a Newcastle goal kick and another opportunity, and Diouf knows it. You can see he's got his head in his hands, and a wry smile from Nuno.
What he's wondering is why nobody went around the back post, and I didn't think it was a bad delivery. I thought it was decent pace on it. I thought it was at a good height. West Ham didn't have anybody going around the back post, and we always say to somebody when you're walking on them set plays, somebody get around that back post just in case it goes a little bit long.
Right, there is a very tense match in the Women's Six Nations at the moment. France against England. Maz Faruqi.
Massive score for England at this point in the match with 50 minutes on the clock and 5th converted try for them. So they lead now in Bordeaux, 36 points to 21. It looks like they're going to defend their Women's Six Nations title with the clock running out for France now.
A little sigh of relief perhaps for England with that try. Makes it a little bit more comfortable. It is certainly not comfortable here at St James's Park for West Ham. They trail by 2-0 with half-time fast approaching. They know if they do not win here and Spurs win on Tuesday night against Chelsea, it will be West Ham who will be relegated, and Tottenham's Premier League run will continue to next season. A huge game for West Ham, and at the moment it is not going their way. They have improved though, Andy, since the changes by Nuno going to that 4-4-2.
Yeah, no, I think they have. They've managed to get a little bit of a foothold in the game, and I think what they have done is they've kind of missed out that Newcastle press where they could, and having an extra man higher up the pitch has given them a little bit of kind of scope in this game.
Juve with the overlap and the ball into the area, but too much on it for Wilson, who's been very, very busy for West Ham and just not been perhaps provided with the best delivery, the best service. We know how good a finisher he can be up against his former club today, and that one went all the way through to Pope. Now Ramsey trying to break clear, just skips away from Wan-Bissaka, plays it into Barnes just in the centre circle. Now driving forward, Voltemada in that little pocket once again, coming forward, shoots the crowd, he chops it onto that left foot but finds Barnes. And now Tonali, edge of the area, back to Barnes. Newcastle patient in their build-up as Trippier makes a little darting run, but Tonali cuts back onto the left. Now he spreads the ball to the right-hand side to Trippier, into Guimaraes. Now Voltemada, touch back into Guimaraes' path. Trippier on that right-hand side. Little passes from Newcastle, trying to move that West Ham defence. They're standing resolute. Now Voltemada goes forward, finds Barnes on the shot this time. Straight at Hermansen. Patient build-up from Newcastle, finding the little passes, eventually working the space for the shot on that occasion, though straight at the goalkeeper.
Yeah, combinations again, the central areas, and Tonali and Guimaraes are right at the heart of everything. And they're dictating the play, they're picking up all them second balls, starting off the attacks, and I think Newcastle sustained that attack pretty well there. They were moving the ball, and just wonder if Harvey Barnes, he wasn't quite set to take on that finish and couldn't get any power in it.
We are just about to approach the 45th minute here at St James's Park. Newcastle 2, West Ham 0. It's been an open game at times, but it's Newcastle who have had the clinical edge as Disasi drives forward. He's got Juve on that left-hand side, as ever a willing runner. So much energy down the left-hand side. Plays it into Fernandes, now out to the right-hand side with Wan-Bissaka. To Bowen on this right touchline. Cuts in, left-footed, cross, looking for the run of Wilson, but Chow is there. 3 minutes added we will have at the end of this 45 as Guimaraes just launches that ball clear. Mavropanos the only player on the halfway line, but Oshola trying to put pressure on him and now trying to put pressure on Hermansen, but he does well and finds Mavropanos with the pass.
Great work ethic though from Oshola, really good. He's chasing every single thing down, every ball that goes long, even if it's not straight to him. He's pressing, he's going after particularly Mavropanos, and he knows Hermansen has made a mistake already in this game, so he's putting pressure on him as well, and really hunting the ball down.
He's such a strong runner, Oshola. He's got so much pace and very willing to use it. Can try and create something out of absolutely nothing.
Yeah, you mentioned that pace. You see there when he went to close the keeper down that time, he opened his legs, he's got that really long stride there, he covers the ground so quickly.
Juve picks the ball up on the left hand side, drops it back to Hermansen in the West Ham goal. Nuno Espirito Santo just standing out on the edge of the technical area, hands in pockets. There will be many things going through his mind, but he knows that he needs to try and find a way to inspire his team to keep believing and to try and get themselves back in this game in the second half. We're a minute and a half into the added 3 minutes at the end of this first half as Wilson picks it up edge of the area, but Chow just puts a block in, and now Barnes helps out and Pope launches it clear as there's a little nudge in the back for Osula, but over the top to Mavropanos the ball goes. So West Ham with another opportunity for an attack before the half-time whistle blows. Souček, edge of the centre circle, finds Disasi. Plenty of options ahead of them, but not a huge amount of movement. Somerville comes deep looking for it, under pressure from Trippier, who's come up with him to put pressure on the tricky Somerville, and the ball is all the way back now in West Ham's half with Mavropanos. Newcastle putting pressure on West Ham when they come forward. Bowen, again, the press is good from Newcastle, and they're working extremely hard, the home side.
Yeah, they are. They look comfortable in that block. You know, they don't really need to chase it. They're 2-0 up. The pressure's all on West Ham, and I think when the ball does come into the block, how they jump on it and how they really go after aggressively. They go after as a group. It's become very difficult for West Ham to get any foothold in the middle area of the pitch.
Newcastle saying to West Ham, you're going to have to try and play through us, and at the moment West Ham don't have the creativity as Castellanos just trips Trippier from behind, and it will be a free kick. And it's actually, he was offside anyway, so it will be a free kick to Newcastle regardless, as the half-time whistle does blow here at St James's Park, and Newcastle very comfortable in that first 45, but for West Ham it is all about them today, really, in their quest for survival. And there are some bowed heads, some disconsolate looking West Ham players trudging off the pitch at half-time. The first goal was all down to a really poor pass from defence. Harvey Barnes with a cross, Voltemada with a lovely finish into the bottom corner, and then a brilliant sweeping Newcastle move for the second. Ramsey with the ball in, and Osula, great composure, just slotting it between the legs of Hermansen. West Ham, they have tried to change their shape, well, they have changed their shape to try and make a difference. They've perhaps asked a few more questions in the second half, but Andy Reid, really, they've not offered enough.
No, they've had one chance, and they haven't really had much of a foothold in the game. It's been disappointing for them. You can see that in the players' faces when they walked off. You can see it in Nuno's body language on the side. He's trying to be positive, but it's becoming very, very difficult. But for me, in terms of a football match, this game has been totally dominated by Newcastle. They played some brilliant football. They found the gaps in between the lines. It's been so difficult for West Ham to pick up them spaces. Harvey Barnes, Voltemada, and Jacob Ramsey have been excellent, with Osula making some brilliant forward runs as well. So a really good footballing performance from Newcastle. Scored a couple of excellent goals, but how they've played football in them central areas and combined, found the tens time after time, West Ham haven't had an answer to it.
They have not. Newcastle comfortable at the break with that 2-goal advantage. At half-time it is Newcastle 2, West Ham 0.
And if West Ham do go on and lose that game, it will mean that effectively Tottenham will just need 1 point from their final 2 matches to stay in the Premier League. The first of them is at Chelsea on Tuesday. There's full commentary of that on 5 Sports Extra. They finish at home to Everton next Sunday. We will be bringing you full commentary on Tuesday on 5 Live of Bournemouth versus Manchester City, that massive game at the top of the table. Let's go back to Bordeaux as England close in on the Six Nations. Maz Faruqi.
Yeah, they're very happy now, Steve, to see the seconds tick by. France are down to 14 players as well. They've just had somebody sent to the bin. So England scoring that 5th try in this second half. Jess Breach out wide, that extending their lead again. So it's France 21, England 36 in Bordeaux. England well on course to defend their Women's Six Nations title now.
Sorry, Maz, thank you very much. We're heading into stoppage time at Wembley in the FA Trophy final. Sahil Sahi.
Yeah, and it's still Southend 0, Wealdstone 0. We've got 8 minutes of stoppage time to play, so plenty of time for one of these two sides to score a winning goal in this FA Trophy final. Mika Obiro's come close twice for Wealdstone, both shots on target, but no real power behind both efforts. It looks like at the moment, Steve, we're heading towards a penalty shootout. Southend 0, Wealdstone 0.
Final round of the PGA Championship tonight. Correspondent Ian Carter is watching.
Not happening for the defending champion and world number one, Scotty Scheffler. 6 holes into his final round and he's covered them in level par, so remains at 1 under, and that's 5 shots off for Alex Smalley's lead. It's been a good day for Matt Fitzpatrick, the Englishman, playing the last 5 under for his round, 2 under for the championship. We've seen a 63 from Kurt Kitayama. Justin Rose is about to get underway at 2 under par. A reminder of this packed leaderboard with Alex Smalley at 6 under, Matty Schmidt, Nick Taylor, John Rahm and England's Aaron Rye along with Ludwig Aubert all at 4 under par. And then we'll be seeing the big guns, McIlroy, Schauffele and Reed all heading out at 3 under within 3 of the lead.
8 o'clock tonight, you'll get full commentary of the rest of the final round on 5 Sports Extra. At 9 o'clock, it will move over to here on 5 Live. Quick reminder of the full-time scores in the Premier League. Manchester United 3, Nottingham Forest 2, Brentford 2, Palace 2. Everton 1, Sunderland 3, Leeds 1, Brighton 0, and it finished Wolves 1, Fulham 1. Half-time at St James's Park is Newcastle 2, West Ham 0. Second half commentary on the way. And the final day in Scotland in the bottom half of the table. Dundee 3, Aberdeen 2, Livingston 1, Kilmarnock 4, St Mirren 1, Dundee United 1. The FA Vars final was won by AFC Stoneham, who beat Cockfosters on penalty. We've got reaction to the day's football and more on the really sad news that we've learned today, that Scott Hastings, the Scotland Rugby Union legend, has died at the age of 61. We will do all of that after the news on 5 Live with James Wickham.
The voice of the UK. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, as Steve mentioned, the former Scotland International Rugby Union outside centre Scott Hastings has died at the age of 61. He was known as one of Scotland's greatest ever players and represented the Lions 12 times. He had been the country's most capped player on his retirement. Scottish Rugby says it's immensely saddened by the news. Our Rugby Union correspondent is Chris Jones.
Is one of Scotland's finest sons. As a player, his CV speaks for itself. 65 caps, which in the era he played, that is a huge amount of recognition. These were huge matches, and to play 65 times for your country in that period from when he debuted in the 80s onwards, an unbelievable achievement.
And as Steve said, more on that in the next few minutes. The Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy says it will be a personal decision for the Prime Minister about whether to contest a possible Labour leadership election as his rivals begin to set out their plans to change the country. Yesterday, Wes Streeting confirmed he would stand in any future race after he resigned as Health Secretary last Thursday. A senior Police Scotland officer has called on Celtic to be more accountable after violent scenes in Glasgow in the wake of the club retaining the Premiership title. 2 officers were seriously injured during the disorder and had bottles and other objects thrown at them. Ministers are exploring the option of the north of England hosting the Olympic and Paralympic Games. The government has commissioned an assessment by UK Sport, which could form part of a bid to hold the event in the 2040s. Olympic Taekwondo silver medalist Caden Cunningham says it's exciting news.
Up north is like its own country itself. The support and the community of being up north is so strong, and especially as like martial artists, like we love a scrap, we love fighting, so having it up here I think would be wicked. I think it'd be something really nice. I'd like to see it. I know my family, my people would want to, so yeah, it's exciting.
And Irish researchers have discovered what's believed to be the oldest surviving poem written in English within the pages of a medieval book kept in a library in Rome. Caedmon's hymn was composed in Old English by an agricultural worker in northern England in the 7th century AD. The researchers from Trinity College Dublin say they consider it as the beginning of English literature.
This is 5 Live Sports with Steve Crossman. Listen on BBC Sounds.
And we're going to bring you some more reaction now to that awful news that we've learned in the last hour or so, that the Scotland legend, Scott Hastings, former British and Irish Lion as well, he's died at the age of 61. Let's hear from the former England hooker Brian Moore, who played against Scott on many occasions. This is his tribute during this afternoon's Six Nations coverage.
I got to know Scott Hastings very well on 2 Lions tours, Australia and New Zealand. He was a roommate of mine on several occasions. And the man I got to know very well was a man of huge integrity, honesty and empathy. And as a player, his partnership with Jeremy Guscott was seminal in beating Australia in 1989. And the one thing that you always got with Scott, you knew that in extremis or when you were on top, he would give nothing less than his very best. Didn't mean to say that he always got it right,
but you knew he would never let you down for effort. Those of you who did know Scott know what we've lost. Those of you in the wider rugby world who didn't know him, let me just say that rugby is much the poorer for his passing, but very much the better for his being.
Brian Moore there on the passing of Scott Hastings at the age of 61. Scott and his brother Gavin were such a big part of the last Scotland team to win the Six Nations Grand Slam in 1990. Let's speak to Ailey Barber now as well. Ailey, I imagine Scott Hastings is someone who, if you're Scottish, he transcends sport, such a big name and such a big loss.
Yeah, that news really threw me when I heard it just before we came to the commentary here at St James's Park. He is a player, the Hastings brothers, I grew up watching playing rugby, but through working in the sport and through doing various charity events with the My Name's Doddy Foundation and various different mental health charities, I got to know him as Scott the person and not just Scott the rugby player. And he was just an incredibly joyous man. He had a smile that could light up any room, just a very incredibly warm personality, and with everything that he had to deal with over the last number of years with his late wife Jenny, with his own health diagnosis and all of that, you would never have known. He was just a warm, generous, very, very happy, enthusiastic person who loved the game of rugby, absolutely loved it. Him and his brother Gavin, they love rugby, but he just enjoyed life, and he made a room joyous when he was in it. So he will be hugely, hugely missed from the sport of rugby, as so many people have said, but also just for his presence being around the sport and around the charities that he worked alongside. And it gives some comfort that him and his late wife Jenny are together again.
Ailey, that's such a wonderful tribute. Thank you so much. Ailey Barber there, who's at St James's Park, and we're going to bring you second half commentary in the Premier League from there very shortly. Newcastle leading West Ham by 2-0. Before we do that, we're going to take you to Bordeaux, because we're into the final couple of minutes of France-England, and England now know that they are going to be recording that 8th straight Women's Six Nations titles. Let's join James Burridge.
Yes, they've been emphatic, the Red Roses, in this second half, Steve. 43-21. Amy Cockayne has just scored her 8th try in 8th Tets. A remarkable run of form from the England hooker. She's been brilliant in defence today, Kat Merchant. France down a player as well, which is really rubbing salt into the wounds. But this has been the contest we hoped it would be. It's been a proper test match. Attrition, dynamism. It's been a pulsating game to watch, and everything we hoped it would be.
Oh, this is delivered and more. And even though the scoreline now pulling away for England, this has been a really exciting game that could at times have gone either way.
France in possession, looking to give their home crowd something to cheer. They took the lead early on, but then England responded brilliantly. Took 4 tries in the second half as France carrying it up to the 22, and we go into the last 30 seconds in Bordeaux. Quick ball for France on England's 22, but the title is heading England's way, as England's defence, which has been so impressive, led by the skipper Meg Jones, who has been brilliant. Such defensive steel, up hard, fast, flat, forcing mistakes from France's back line. Into the last 15 seconds, France still carrying, still hoping, but England holding them at bay outside the 22. England with some really brilliant tries in the second half. Jess Breach, counter punch for England after France scored 2 tries in 5 minutes. And then Amy Cockayne has sealed it for England as France breaking through. 5 metres out now, Barra, the fullback, peeling away France. 5 metres now from England's line. 43-21, the Red Roses lead. This will be the last play. Out it comes. Bella the prop trying to burst away. She's grounded the ball on the line, and the try will be given. France with the final try of the game, but England can celebrate another Six Nations title, a 5th straight Six Nations title. Kat Merchant.
Absolutely incredible. They just know how to deliver, and there was pressure on them today. Yes, I think they went in as favourites, but with players out off the back of a World Cup to be able to deliver and keep that winning streak going. They've done so well today.
Just a second. Then we are starting the shot clock.
They're just checking the shot clock. England just fanning out as
Try stays.
confirmation
60 seconds,
the try is good.
Yeah.
As France now kicking this conversion. Kaywa, the replacement, who's just come on. This will be the final act of the match in Bordeaux. Up she steps, and the conversion is through. And that is the game. Big celebrations from the Red Roses, hugs, high fives, and another moment to savour for John Mitchell's England, who remain on this ridiculous streak. 38 successive wins for the Red Roses. Absolutely phenomenal. They were properly tested in Bordeaux today, but they have passed this one with flying colours. Kat Merchant, what a moment for the Red Roses once again.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. They delivered today, and what a real quality game of rugby as well, because France brought some of their best rugby, their try-scoring rugby, playing from anywhere, but England just relentless in their defence, and they just cannot be stopped right now. They are that good.
And the questions were asked because so many changes had to be made. But Steve, England can celebrate a 5th straight Grand Slam, an 8th straight title. It is a phenomenal run from England, who just look unstoppable.
Thank you very much, guys. Brilliant performance from England. They have dug in and done it. 08085 909 693. Get your calls in for 606 with Robbie Savage and Chris Sutton. Chris, we've just got time to ask you what you want to talk about tonight.
Good afternoon, Steve. The Brown and Burmo handball. I mean, Robbie's absolutely incensed about that. Xavi Alonso in at Chelsea on a 4-year deal. Can he move the club forward? And what a win for Sunderland today. Up to 9th. Want to hear from Sunderland fans on their season. And Daniel Farker, only a year left on his contract. Surely Leeds need to extend that.
Great work, Chris. Thank you very much. 08085 909 693. We are ready to roll again at St James's. Early.
Thanks, Steve. Both sets of players out on the pitch for this second half. Newcastle leading by 2-0. West Ham need a massive 45 minutes or their Premier League status could come to an end on Tuesday night if Spurs can get a result against Chelsea. Will Osula with the second goal. We've actually just seen a replay of his celebration. Andy Reid alongside me. He somehow managed to find a sparkly glove and do a Michael Jackson impression. I'm sure you'll be seeing it all over socials.
Yeah, not for me, that. Not for me.
Well, we are back underway. Newcastle in their black and white shirts, black shorts, black socks, playing from our left to right in the second half. West Ham in their claret jerseys, white shorts, white socks, playing right to left, and it's Newcastle asking the first questions. Bruno Guimaraes on the edge of the area just keeps possession, finding Voltemada out to Trippier flicks it back into Guimaraes, the little chest off to Voltemada, back with Guimaraes, looking again for Voltemada. There's a smile from Voltemada, the flag is up, it's offside. That was tricky stuff from the two of them.
Yeah, well, it was really good play, actually, combinations and good movement. Guimaraes makes a late run towards the corner of the box, and then there's a good combination between him and Voltemada. Dangerous enough for West Ham, but Guimaraes is just straight offside. It's a big kind of 15-20 minutes for West Ham here. If they can try and put more balls into the box, somehow try and get a goal to get themselves back into this game, there could be a different complexion if they're the ones who get that first goal. But if it's Newcastle that get it, then it's game over. What I would say is that West Ham didn't show me enough in the first half to suggest that they can even get that one goal. But as long as it's just two, they're still alive and they're still in this game.
They definitely need to get that first goal because their Premier League status may well depend on it, as Voltemada just skips away from Souček, driving towards the penalty area, tries to feed it into the path of Osula. Just a little bit too much on it, gets a thumbs up from Osula, but it's all the way through to Hermansen. So let me run you through the two teams. No changes for Newcastle at the break, so it is still Pope in goal, back four of Hall, Botman, Chow and Trippier, Tonali and Guimaraes in the midfield, Voltemada in that number 10 position, Barnes and Ramsey either side of Will Osula up front. In terms of West Ham, well, they did make a change in that first half. Todibo going off and Castellanos coming on after they went 2 goals down. So it is Hermansen in goal, a back four of Diouf, Disasi, Mavropanos and Wan-Bissaka. Souček, Fernandes in the midfield, Somerville and Bowen either side of Castellanos and Callum Wilson, as West Ham come forward and Diouf just goes down in the penalty area, clutching his right arm, I think it is, and he's rolling around a little bit. It didn't look like there was much in the challenge, but down he went and he looks to have landed awkwardly.
Yeah, I think he did. It was a decent run, but Trippier's done really well. He's just edged him out as Chow came across, and by the time Diouf did get there, couldn't really control it. A little bit of a slip. Wasn't much in that, and it looked like he landed awkwardly on his wrist, but he's up now. He's moving about okay. But a little bit of positivity for West Ham there. They're going to need to try and get Wan-Bissaka and Diouf further forward, and like we mentioned earlier, try and get some deliveries into the box for Castellanos and Wilson, and maybe Souček arriving from a little bit deeper.
A balancing act for West Ham. They need bodies forward, but they don't want to leave themselves open at the back for Newcastle to kill this game off, as Mavropanos feeds it through to Souček, who's got Somerville on that left-hand side. He's got Harvey Barnes ahead of him, trying to squirm away, which he does, and drops it to Fernandes in that midfield area, back with Mavropanos on the edge of the centre circle, and out now to Wan-Bissaka, who comes in field and again drops it back to Mavropanos. West Ham coming down this left-hand side now. Fernandes driving forward. He looked for options ahead of him, but he's been forced back again, and again Newcastle have come out and off the ball, working very hard to close down those gaps and make it difficult for West Ham.
Yeah, comfortable to go into that block, and almost saying to West Ham, come on then, play through us, see how many players you're going to commit forward. If you do commit too many men forward and we turn the ball over with the pace and guile and that they've got in them front areas, they could really pick West Ham off.
Callum Wilson just unable to take the ball down. Lewis Hall on it, but under pressure from Bowen on that right hand touchline. He's got support though from Ramsey, and now Newcastle look to try and get it clear. Poor pass though, but Voltemada wins it back, and Hall tries to skip away from Wan-Bissaka, who somehow won the ball whilst lying prone on the ground, but Guimaraes there to sweep things up for Newcastle. And it's not pretty reading for West Ham when it comes to needing goals. They haven't scored in any of their last 3 games in the Premier League away from home, so that needs to change this afternoon. But it's Trippier down this right hand side, space to drive into. Now the cross towards the back post over Voltemada, but Tonali will pick it up on that left hand touchline. He's got support from Hall, uses him now. Back with Tonali, just level with the edge of the penalty area. Newcastle looking to try and get a third that would surely seal a final victory of the season at St James's Park. Ball back with Chow. Now it moves to the right hand side to Trippier, playing his final game here at St James's Park. His pass not quite accurate enough for Voltemada, so now West Ham can come forward. Castellanos, who's got the run from Diouf as ever down that left hand side, but Tonali, he works so hard in that midfield to cut down any opportunity for Diouf to continue going forward. But West Ham now do get the ball back to Diouf, and that cross is long towards the back post. Wilson down on the chest, Botman clears it, and it's going to come off Wilson. It's going to be a goal kick for Newcastle.
Yeah, just going back to Tonali a couple of minutes, a few seconds ago really, it's a great recovery run again. He covers the ground so quickly, gets back in, and once he does get back in, he's so aggressive. He's on the front foot, he's looking to jump, he's looking to be aggressive and try and nick that ball back. We've just seen Diouf getting up into a forward area there and putting a cross into the box. Callum Wilson at the back post, he couldn't really make anything of it, but you do feel that crosses from wide areas is going to be where West Ham are going to get something from.
Just a little bit of concern for Sandro Tonali, who's requested some attention whilst he's getting some treatment. Let's head to Wembley for the FA Trophy final, which has just finished. Southend against Wealdstone. Sohail Sahi.
And Southend, Ailey, have won the FA Trophy for the first time in their 120-year history. They've won it on a penalty shootout, winning it by 4 spot kicks to 2. All the drama was saved for the shootout. Both sides missed penalties in the shootout, but Gus Scott Morris stood up and scored the decisive 5th. Southend have won the FA Trophy.
Drama at Wembley. drama here if you're a West Ham fan. They trail by 2-0, and the travelling supporters high up to our left-hand sides. What do you think is going through their mind? What do they want to see more of from their team?
They just want to try and see the team create something, other than that kind of half chance that they had in the first half. Probably not long after Castellanos come off, they haven't really had anything at all, and I'll tell you what, they will be pleased to see this substitution.
They will indeed, because Sandro Tonali is not able to continue. His work rate has been a real struggle for West Ham to deal with. It's Joe Willock that's going to come on for what could potentially be his last time at St James's Park, heavily linked with a move away in the summer. Joe Willock heading into the final year of his contract at the club here. But also Sandro Tonali, so many questions over his future. How important is it Newcastle keep him?
Yeah, well, I think he'd be one of the players that you'd be wanting to kind of build everything around and see if you can bring in players to kind of supplement them, I suppose. He's a top-class operator, he really is, and him and Guimaraes, they've just controlled the tempo of this game. They've slowed it down, speeded up at times. Out of possession, they've been really aggressive, and West Ham will be pleased to see Tonali going off, that's for sure.
West Ham picking up on a loose pass there. Somerville driving forward. He's under pressure from Ramsey. Ramsey does really well. Trippier there ahead of Somerville to just knock it back to Ramsey. Won that ball. Boos from the West Ham fans above us because they felt that was a free kick, but referee Jared Gillett not giving anything as Newcastle try to move away with it with Hall, but drops it back to Botman inside his own half to Malik Chow. And Chow coming forward, looking for options ahead, finds Trippier, who now puts it over the top towards the substitute Willock. A slip from Disasi, but he's able to clear it as he slips for a throw-in.
He got lucky there, Disasi, because there was a bit of a coming together and he's on the floor, and somehow he managed to get a touch on it to knock out a play. I think probably a sign of the difference in these two squads is you look at the starting 11 and there's obviously a gap there. There's some top players in Newcastle's team, but you look at the bench, you look at Newcastle's bench, some top players ready to come on.
Barnes just trying to skip past a couple of players. He's saying that it came off a hand of Souček, but nothing given. It is instead going to be offside against Voltemada, who he tried to slip the ball through to, as West Ham get that free kick just inside their penalty area. Some big results in the Premier League already today. A win for Manchester United against Forest to start the day. And then in the 3 o'clock kickoffs, a draw between Brentford and Palace. Sunderland 3-1 winners at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. That's put them right into a potential European place, depending on what happens on that final day. They're in 9th and just a point behind Brentford. Brighton lost after a very late Dominic Calvert-Lewin winner against Leeds, and it was all square between Wolves and Fulham. All of those goals and the ones from here at St James's Park on Match of the Day tonight. Gabby Logan alongside Dion Dublin and Mark Schwartz, so that's 10:30 on BBC One. But when it comes to the bottom of the table and that relegation fight, it is the closest one we've seen in a long time in the Premier League. It could well go to the final day, but unless West Ham do something pretty special in these remaining minutes of the second half, it is going to potentially be the end of their Premier League status on Tuesday night if Spurs can beat Chelsea. That shot from the edge of the area going straight into the arms of Nick Pope, and that is where West Ham need to be more clinical and offer a little bit more.
Yeah, it was a decent strike. He connected well with it, straight at the keeper. He needs to be finding the corners.
Flick from Ossel into the path of Voltemada, places it in front of Ramsey. Guimaraes now out to this left-hand side where Hall is level with the penalty area, finds Voltemada, back with Hall, flicks it into the area. He goes for the shot actually, and that's palmed away by Hermansen, and it's fallen back to Hall on the left side of the penalty area. Willock, disguised pass to Barnes, his shot cleared, and it's still fallen to Newcastle feet. Guimaraes, Barnes on the left edge of the penalty area, just knocking it from foot to foot, looking for the cross, but drops it back to Guimaraes, and now he shoots, and that is onto the roof of the net. And there were a few behind Hermansen's goal there that had their mouths open waiting for that to drop into the top corner.
Yeah, it's a brilliant effort from Guimaraes and gets the fans to their feet. he curls it. He doesn't go for power, he just goes for the accuracy. He tries to curl it over. It's like a half chip and half curl. It's just above the crossbar, but it was a brilliant effort. He's seen Hermansen just drifting out of his goal a little bit, and took on the finish. Very, very unlucky.
That would have been some goal had that fallen in, but now Wilson up against Chow, does well. Callum Wilson tries to feed Castellanos, but that was a brilliant sliding block from Sven Botman to stop the ball going to the Argentinian's feet for what would have been a real clear-cut opportunity for West Ham. But Callum Wilson, great strength against Malik Chow there.
Yeah, really good strength. I think he could have taken on the finish himself, though. I'm not too sure. He was probably a little bit too unselfish there. He tried to slip on Castellanos, and he should have taken on the finish himself.
Bit of a flashpoint over on the far side. Guimaraes going down under the challenge of Souček, but reacted to something. I'm not sure if there was a stamp or if there was something from Thomas Souček towards Bruno Guimaraes. We can have a look at it here, and it's a little kick, couple of little kicks into the arm as Guimaraes is keeping the ball away from Souček.
Yeah, it's an interesting one there, because Guimaraes has fell on top of the ball. It was a foul. The referee's blown for that, and after he's blown, Guimaraes has the ball in his hands, and Souček has just kicked out just a little bit, trying to kick the ball. He took a little bit of a chance there, Souček. I don't think it was necessary, but Guimaraes wasn't happy. He jumped up, he squared up to each other. The referee, a couple of bookings, but I think he's just tried to calm everything down.
He's still having a little word with Bruno Guimaraes just now, the referee, but just asking him, I imagine, to calm down. But certainly yellow card was shown to Thomas Souček, and also just Thomas Souček, I think, got the yellow card there. So Nick Pope with the free kick deep inside his own half. He'll launch it forward, every Newcastle player right up the pitch, and it will be won though by Castellanos. And now an opportunity for Wilson again to put the pressure on, but this time Chow does well and clears it to Hall, left edge of the pitch, drops it back to Botman under pressure from Somerville, but gets it away to Hall, who tries to just spin away from Bowen, but it does go out of play, but it's come off Jared Bowen. It will be a Newcastle throw inside their own half. Are you seeing more from West Ham to suggest that they can get themselves back into this game over this period in the second half?
I'm seeing more from them, but I'm not too sure enough to quite get a goal yet. It's been bitty from them. They've been more direct since they've had the two up front, and so there's a little bit more positivity from them. And look, as long as it's only 2-0, they're kind of still in this game, because one goal just changes the complexion of this game completely, and Newcastle will go on the back foot if West Ham can get that goal, but they can't fashion that chance as of yet. They've had a couple of decent situations, but haven't been able to fashion any kind of an opening really in the second half.
Well, we've hit the hour mark in this game. It's in James's Park. It is still Newcastle 2, West Ham 0. West Ham are going to bring on Pablo. They've already got Castellanos and Wilson on the pitch. Will they go with 3 strikers and try and get themselves back into this game? Their Premier League future depends on it, but it is Newcastle on the ball with Guimaraes. Hall making the run down the left-hand side. He's found by the Brazilian. Almost decided to cross it, decided against it. Now he looks to place it into the area. It's won by Voltemada on the edge of the box, but West Ham getting it clear. Callum Wilson, the only player up the field for West Ham, and he almost keeps possession after Botman slid in and won the ball, but Lewis Hall back to help him out.
Yeah, he's done brilliantly well though, Callum Wilson, to win a throw-in for his team there. He's worked tirelessly up front, and he hasn't had much to go at, but his work rate has been incredible. He's put himself about, he's tried to make it difficult for those Newcastle defenders. Just wants that chance. He just wants one chance that he can put away and put pressure on his old club.
Diouf trying to make that chance happen. Ball into Somerville, but it was a little bit heavy and unable to get it under control. Crescencio Somerville, and now it is launched clear, but that will go straight to Disasi on the halfway line. You can hear the West Ham fans high above us, that left-hand side, urging their team on. Fernandez and Somerville, a couple of 1-2s between them, and he now skips past Willock. Somerville driving towards the penalty area, gets the little 1-2. Somerville coming forward. Chow is across to deny him the shot, and it will actually go out as well for a Newcastle goal kick. And now West Ham will make these changes. Pablo and Kante both coming on.
Yeah, they need something a little bit different. I mean, it's great defending from Chow in the end, but Somerville with a brilliant little flash, plays a good combination, gets into the box, but can fashion a shot.
So it will be who is coming off. Thomas Souček is going to be coming off for West Ham as Pablo takes to the field. And it looks also like it might... I thought it was going to be Diouf, but it's not. It's going to be Wan-Bissaka who makes way for Kante. So a little bit of reshuffling again for West Ham. You have to just go for it at this stage though, Andy Reid.
Yeah, and look, I think that's what they're doing. It looks like Bowen is going back into kind of a hybrid full-back stroke wing-back position. He's going to try and play as high as he possibly can. It could be a swing where they swing from a back four into a back three.
That is cleared by Hermansen in the West Ham goal. It looked like it was going to just be an inviting one for Voltemada, but Hermansen there to launch it clear, and it is a West Ham throw on the halfway line now with Fernandes looking for options ahead of him. Again, Newcastle in that low block, cutting down the space, cutting out the options for West Ham. Inside their own half still, West Ham look to try and build from the back. Diouf though under pressure from Barnes, no option but to send it back to his goalkeeper, and now it will be long and over the top from Hermansen. Botman up against Wilson, and that is going to be a free kick to the Newcastle defender, pushed over by Callum Wilson, who's arguing his case.
Yeah, the problem with Callum Wilson there is that he's not looking at the ball, he's looking at the defender, and the defender's looking at the ball as if he's going to go and head it, and Wilson just barges into him. Can't really argue with the referee. But going back to that change with Pablo coming on, there's a lot of attacking players on the pitch for West Ham now. They know they need to go for it, they know they need to put pressure on the ball, they need to try and create a chance to try and get back into this game.
Yeah, it looks like they have gone to a back three. Diouf, Disasi and Mavropanos. So plenty of firepower in theory on the pitch for West Ham now, but that's given away by Pablo. Ossola to Willock, across the face of goal to Ossola, and that is the third, and that was so easy for Newcastle, and that is surely game over here at St James's Park, and West Ham's Premier League future could be over. Jared Bowen is looking at his teammates, he's asking questions, he's furious at how simple that was for Newcastle, given away by Pablo, but really well worked move from Ossola to Willock and back to Ossola for the simplest of finishes. No Michael Jackson celebration this time, but it is Newcastle 3, West Ham 0.
Yeah, far too easy for Newcastle, but a well taken goal, and just as West Ham made them substitutions and they got some more attacking players onto the pitch, Pablo gives the ball away. Lightning quick counter-attack, ball gets cut back brilliantly well from Willock, and Asula's got a tap in, second goal of the game, and he fully deserves. He's been excellent, but comes from really sloppy play between Pablo and Diouf. Throw in, try and walk it between them, give it away, and just like that, it's game over.
It is game over. Is it over for West Ham's 14-year stay in the Premier League? Will it be Championship football at the London Stadium next season? That is what they are facing, and Nuno, with images of him on the screens now, head in hands. He knows what this means, he knows it could be all over, he knows that it could be a very difficult spell for West Ham as a football club.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's a tough time for them at the moment. The amount of money that you lose dropping out of the Premier League, we know that it's huge. I suppose it hasn't been the most well-run football clubs recently. The fans aren't particularly happy with a lot of stuff going on there, and dropping into the Championship would be an absolute disaster. But you can't say that it hasn't been coming. I think it has. To put this game into isolation, and one of the reasons why Nuno's so disappointed there was hoping that with them attacks and substitutions that he's just made, try and give his team a bit of a foothold, see if they can get a goal. But straight away they go and concede.
And now they've given away a free kick in a dangerous position on the right hand side, around 25 yards or so away. An opportunity for Bruno Guimaraes to launch it into that area. and the Newcastle fans can enjoy the remaining 20 minutes or so of this final game here of the Premier League season at St James's Park. Bruno Guimaraes drops it to Trippier, his ball goes in, that's headed clear by Pablo. But when you look and you mention West Ham, the way that things have gone for them, and you look at the sort of instability, Nuno, the 7th permanent manager over the last 10 years, they've had 3 different managers in 2025 alone. It's difficult to have success at a football club when that is happening in the dugout.
Yeah, it is. And look, Nuno's a really calm character. You see that, you know, he's tried to be as composed as he possibly can in there, but it's just been difficult. There's been so much going against them, and they find themselves in the position that they are now. And you would think that, look, it's not over yet. Tottenham still have to go to Chelsea on Tuesday. They have to put in a performance there. There's going to be a new manager for Chelsea. They might be trying to impress the new manager, so that's not cut and dry by any stretch. And West Ham can just hope that they can take it to the last game of the season, and anything can happen on the last game of the season.
It can, but it does not look good for them. Should Tottenham get a point against Chelsea even, as a shot comes in, what a goal that was from Castellanos. He absolutely launched it from around 25 yards out. There was nothing on, and it flew past Nick Pope into the bottom corner. West Ham have a lifeline in the most unlikely of fashions. What an unbelievable strike from Tati Castellanos.
Well, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It comes from a goal kick. Keeper just boots it up the pitch, and Callum Wilson's fighting with the defender, doesn't make contact with it, but it bounces up for Castellanos, and it's a brilliant volley right over the keeper's head into the side of the net. It's a brilliantly well taken goal, really is, and a little bit of spark. I just think it's come too late, unfortunately, but incredible goal.
It put a couple of smiles on some of the West Ham travelling supporters' faces. That strike, I can tell you, well worth a watch on Match of the Day tonight at 10:30. Just his 5th Premier League goal since joining from Lazio in the summer. It may not have a huge impact on what happens here at St James's Park and in terms of West Ham's Premier League status, but what a finish, and one that he can certainly put in his scrapbook.
Yeah, absolutely. My question mark over him is, does he have enough cutting edge? Is his final action good enough when it comes to it? And it most certainly was there. I mean, it's great technique if you're a young footballer looking at how to manipulate your body and how to get good contact on a ball. It was brilliant, it really was.
So it's given West Ham a lifeline. Newcastle 3, West Ham 1, but it will be a Newcastle free kick midway between the halfway line and the edge of Nick Pope's penalty area. And Nuno is out on the touchline again, arms in pockets, arms folded. I don't know if you can enjoy a goal like that when you're in the position that he is in the dugout as manager of this club facing relegation. And before Castellanos hit that unbelievable strike into the bottom corner, I was just talking about the fact that the goal difference is so huge that even a point for Tottenham on Tuesday night against Chelsea would surely be too much of a mountain for West Ham to climb. Minus 22 their goal difference now, minus 9 is Tottenham's. So that would be all that Tottenham would need. Now Newcastle coming forward. Guimaraes, his shot saved by the legs of Hermansen, and out for a Newcastle corner, and Guimaraes just giving a little kick to the advertising boards. He thought he should have done better with that one, Andy.
Yeah, I think he should have squared it. He passes it straight, keeper saves it, and Hermansen saves it with his feet. But some of the combination play from Newcastle, particularly in the central areas this afternoon, has been incredible. Forward passing, forward running, exactly what you want from your midfielders. It's been a real joy to watch at times.
Another corner for Newcastle. They've had a fair few of them this afternoon. Well worked between Hall and Barnes, but the return from Hall to Barnes cut out. So Castellanos on this left touchline moves it forward for the run of Somerville, but along comes Trippier to knock it out straight into the hands of Nuno, who gives it straight to Castellanos and says, get on with it, we're running out of time. And they are indeed. They need a couple of goals at least to give themselves hope to stay up in this division. Over the top to Castellanos, it goes, little header and looking for Wilson, but that's straight into the arms of Pope.
The question you asked a couple of minutes ago, can Nuno enjoy that goal? I don't think he's not going to enjoy anything about this afternoon. It's just been tough right from start to finish, and it's such a tough situation to be in.
Given away by Newcastle though, edge of the area, Castellanos, so there's a little toe comes in there and wins the ball back, but now Wilson goes down for a second time in the penalty area. Nothing given at the moment. The cheers from the West Ham supporters, but Newcastle coming clear. Again a loose pass, and now it is Mavropanos taking aim from 20 yards and flying it high over the crossbar.
Mavropanos, he's got the ball, he's about 30 yards out. I don't think he's ever scored a goal from there in his life. Why was he taking that shot on in a good position? Slip one of your teammates in. VAR will have a look at the penalty in the box, and there's a couple of coming togethers. Hall and Wilson. I don't know if there's enough in it. I don't think it will be a penalty.
No foul decision, no penalty. So VAR not going West Ham's way again, but I think this one was a little bit more clear-cut. It didn't look like there was enough there for a penalty.
There wasn't. There was a bit of a coming together, but not enough contact in there. Two players going for the ball, and not enough to get a penalty there. But West Ham were hoping.
It would have been a big moment should they have been given one there. They trail by 3-1, and Jared Bowen wins the ball back, and it's now 4 against 2 for West Ham. Bowen, left edge of the area, Pope spills it, but then grabs it at the second attempt. There were options for Bowen there. Did he take the right one, Andy Reid?
Well, he didn't score, so you would have to say no, but we've seen him score from there so many times on his left foot. Sat nicely for him, and I was expecting him to just curl it into that far corner, but he struck it with the laces, and it's gone straight at Pope, and I don't think there was any need for him to strike it that way. He could have curled it into that far corner, as we've seen him do so many times in a West Ham shirt.
So Newcastle making a couple of changes. Jacob Murphy is going to come on and replace Harvey Barnes, and Dan Burn is also going to come on to the pitch, and he is replacing Nick Voltemada. So a little shuffle for Newcastle to perhaps try and stop this West Ham resurgence since that sensational goal that's got them back into this one.
Yeah, they've had a decent probably 6 or 7 minutes since the goal. They've had 2 or 3. Well, they've had an opportunity there with Bowen, but before that, a couple of ricochets in and around the box where something could have fallen to them. So I think Eddie Howe's just looking at it and going, I just want to shore it up a little bit. It might be a bit of adjustment in terms of the shape. It might be looking like a back 3 with Bourne going in and a left-sided centre-back, and Trippier would be a wing-back on one side and Hall will be a wing-back on the other side.
Yeah, looks like a back 3 for Newcastle as Trippier comes back to do his defensive duties, launches it over his shoulder, and it is won by Castellanos, but Dan Burn gets his first touch since coming on as a substitute, and Guimaraes tries to get the pass away to Oshola, but a West Ham foot in there from Pablo means that it falls short. So West Ham with an opportunity to come forward. Diouf on this left side finds Fernandez, scanning the areas ahead of him. Diouf has made the run down the left hand side. His cross into the area looking for Wilson. He gets a flick on it, but it does go into the hands of Pope, and there was a little juggle with it, but he's held on to it, the Newcastle goalkeeper.
Yeah, it was good play though. Diouf has whipped a great ball in right across the 6-yard line, and you always ask your centre forward, get across that near post, and Callum Wilson, experienced as he is, gets across it, flicks it with the outside of his right foot, and unfortunately for him it was straight at the keeper, but really good movement, and he got a good touch on it.
Trippier picks the ball up on the right hand side in his advanced now wing back position, but Kante is in there to win it ahead of Jacob Ramsey, and it goes out off the Newcastle player for a West Ham throw-in, which Diouf will take deep inside West Ham's own half, looking for options ahead of him. Up it goes. Wilson has dropped, but it's Chow who wins that header ahead of him, but Fernandez, good work in the middle of the park to win the ball off Guimaraes, and West Ham now come forward. Mavropanos on that right hand side over the halfway line, just looking for options ahead of him, and it's going to be a crossfield pass to Diouf, who takes it down with his left foot and now whips in another ball, again looking for Wilson. It's fallen at the back post to Mavropanos, and he took it down and then he rifled it with no real real continuity, real culture to the shot, and it's saved by Pope, and it's over the top of the bar, and it's going to be a Newcastle goal kick.
Yeah, but it's Juve on this left hand side. He whips a great ball in, goes past everybody, comes to Castellanos at the back post, takes it down on his chest, and like you say, just whacks it, gets good pace on it. Just comes off the top of the crossbar. Nuno's not happy, feels he should have done a bit better. But I tell you, wouldn't it be interesting for the neutrals if West Ham were to get a goal?
It came off the crossbar for Castellanos. He hit the post twice against Brentford. He's hit the crossbar here. It's question marks over his ability to finish, and that was a huge opportunity for him, but once again denied by the woodwork. And West Ham through Bowen, just trying to break down that right hand side, but it's a good challenge that comes in. Willock now goes down and wins the free kick for Newcastle just inside West Ham's half.
Yeah, what you would say about West Ham is, you know, they conceded that third goal and you think it's game over. Newcastle potentially could have got more, but they've stayed in the game, they've got that goal, they've kept fighting, could have had a second. Try and get themselves back into this game somehow.
Well, it is the 5th time in 4 away games that West Ham have hit the woodwork. So Murphy coming forward now, his shot from distance saved by Hermansen, so he will try and get West Ham moving up the pitch again and see if they can get what would be such an important second goal and give us a very dramatic ending to this game. 12 minutes left here at St James's Park. Newcastle 3, West Ham 1. West Ham fighting for their Premier League lives. Juve down this left hand side, pops it into Somerville, but well covered by Murphy, so can't get the return from Somerville. Fernandez looking for the ball over the top to Castellanos, is blocked by Guimaraes, and now Oslo with a chance to drive forward. He's being pulled, is he, by Kante? No, says the referee. Yes, he does, and pulls it back, and it will be a free kick to Newcastle and a yellow card for Kante.
Yeah, Kante can't argue with that, and I don't think he had too much of a choice really. Sulla was breaking at the back line and Kante was struggling to stay with him. And as Sulla gets hold of the ball, Kante pulls him back, and that's one of the most obvious bookings that you're ever going to see.
And also just taking his time to get up back onto his feet, but an opportunity again for Newcastle in what has been a nice end to the season for these St James's Park faithful who turn up here every week. They've not always seen the best of their team at home in the Premier League this season, but it is ending with a positive result as things stand as we enter the final 10 minutes here at St James's Park. Still Newcastle 3, West Ham 1, and it will be a Newcastle throw just on the halfway line, which Lewis Hall will take. And it was important, I feel, for Eddie Howe and for Newcastle to have a victory here today, to end the season positively, particularly in front of their home fans, because it has been it's been a frustrating season, I think, for everybody at this club.
Yeah, I think so. Look, what you can't forget is that with the players that Newcastle have, when they play like they have at times this afternoon, they're a formidable team. They play some great football, they play forward, good combinations, technically got some good players. So when they, at times today they've played some scintillating football, and the Newcastle fans probably just wondering why they haven't seen enough of it so far this season.
Well, they have just given it away to West Ham, who come forward, and there's Wilson, edge of the area, tries to spin away, can't, feeds Bowen, but a foot comes in, and now Newcastle can break free, but that ball forward looking for Willock is only going to go to Disasi. So West Ham able to keep the pressure on. Juve to Somerville on this left-hand touchline. He's faced up by Murphy. Can he scamper past him? He cuts in field, looking for options. Doesn't have many. Murphy sticks a foot in, but West Ham keep possession. Juve now with a ball to that back post. Castellanos wins the header, but it was too high really for him to do anything with, and it pops straight up in the air, and Pope grabs it.
Yeah, if a goal's going to come, it looks like it's going to come from this left-hand side with Juve. He's got really good delivery into the box, and he gets great pace on it. So even if the forward doesn't get it, it becomes really difficult for the defenders to get any distance on the headers.
Newcastle coming forward. Dan Burn with a run down the left-hand side and a cross, and it's chested by Fernandez. There are shouts for handball from the Newcastle fans behind that goal, but I think that came off the West Ham player's chest as Somerville now scampers clear, and he's driving forward into the centre circle where Hall gives him a little tug, pulls him back. Free kick to West Ham and a yellow card for Lewis Hall.
I wonder if the referee, well, I think VAR will have a look at this, because it looked like Fernandes, as he's coming back in there to stop that cross, like he stuck out his arm and couldn't quite see whether it was his shoulder or whether it was further down. It looked like he overreached.
I thought it hit off more of his shoulder chest area, but see if we get another look. Not yet, we're just getting a look at that free kick that was awarded, and play is back underway, so clearly nothing for VAR to bring the attention of Jared Gillett to, and it is West Ham who come forward with Pablo just outside Newcastle's penalty area. Diouf again on that left hand side, back inside to Pablo, flicks it in, looking for the run of Castellanos, and he gets on the end of it, but it's saved by Pope, and at the second attempt Castellanos' cutback is grabbed by Nick Pope, and he kicks, I think it's Pope's towel that's behind the goal there, he kicks it up in the air in frustration, the Argentinian.
Yeah, it was a good move though. Pablo, nice little cross, in-swinging cross, and Castellano with the good movement, and he gets a little bit of a flick on it. I mean, for me, especially when I look with the players that West Ham have on the pitch and the formation that they're playing at the moment, they're definitely better when they go more direct, and they're definitely better when they put more crosses into the box. It's where they look the most dangerous, and the goal came from that, with a long ball up the pitch. You've got two competitive lads up there, and then Diouf putting them crosses into the box on this left hand side. They've created some chances from it.
Well, just over 6 minutes of the 90 remaining. West Ham trail by 3-1 here at St James's Park. Kante scrapping for the ball, but it is going to be a free kick for West Ham, but Newcastle going to make another couple of changes. Wissa and Alanga, the two to come on for the final 6 minutes or so, and it is going to be Kieran Trippier who makes way, and there is a huge round of applause from all stands here at St James's Park as Kieran Trippier says farewell to this Newcastle support, leaving the club in the summer, his last appearance here at St James's Park, and he is applauded by the players and the supporters off the field of play as he is replaced by Anthony Alanga. And it's been a lovely tribute to Kieran Trippier, who has given this club, been part of all the successes over the last 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely, he's been a brilliant servant, and you can see the appreciation. I think everybody at home can hear the appreciation as well. All these fans here on the feet, applauding, cheering, giving him the send-off that he rightly deserves.
Yohan Wissa also coming on, replacing scorer of 2 of Newcastle's goals this afternoon, Will Oshola, but it's West Ham launching it, going direct, looking for Pablo, but too much on that ball from Disasi. It will be a Newcastle goal kick, and we're into the final 5 minutes, and time is certainly against West Ham.
Yeah, it is though. Them West Ham players, you look over, you see the substitutions, the pace of Alanga and Wissa coming on, so difficult. It just goes to show there is some brilliant strength in this Newcastle squad. The subs that have come on today, really, really top quality players.
Well, West Ham fans, Chris Sutton may be interested to hear your thoughts after this afternoon on 606, which follows us directly after this match, but West Ham still trying to find a way back into things here. Diouf with the ball down the line looking for Wilson, but it's mopped up by Chow, back to Pope. Pope now finds Byrne, out to Lewis Hall on the left touchline. West Ham players swarming forward. It's come off Castellanos, but it will be a Newcastle throw-in. And how big a shock is it for a club the size of West Ham? I know they've struggled in the Premier League over recent seasons, but they are a huge club. For them to be facing the Championship.
Yeah, a massive club, really is huge, and just looking at that there, Somerville doing really well
scrapping away against Jacob Murphy, who needed Chow to help him out, and Newcastle do get it clear, but Alanga now having to fend off Diouf. They are fighting West Ham, but it does look to be a little bit too late for them.
Yeah, I think it does. You speak about it's a massive club, there's no doubt about that. And those fans have had so much to put up with.
Willock coming forward, finds Hall into the area. Hall left-footed off Mavropanos, but Hall will be able to pick up that loose ball again. Opts to pass it down to Willock, who now gets it back. Hall back across the area, but that's gone out, deflected. Newcastle corner, and Hall has a touch of cramp.
Yeah, he's done a lot of running on that side. You're going back to that West Ham point. For me, I played at Upton Park, and I don't think it's been the same club since they've moved. The stadium that they're in at the moment is so big, they get plenty of fans in there, but it's not a football stadium, not purpose built for football. The atmosphere I don't think is great in it, and I don't think the fans are particularly happy. And I do think that this relegation that's pending, although it's not done yet, I think it's been coming for a couple of years now.
It is interesting that the one remaining relegation place being fought over by two clubs who have built huge, well, West Ham didn't build theirs, but who now play in huge purpose-built stadiums, and it has perhaps made a difference to both West Ham and Spurs.
Yeah, well, I do, and particularly West Ham. I do think it's a problem. I think it's very difficult to generate a great atmosphere, and it's difficult, for somebody, and so I love football, and West Ham is such a traditional club, and the fans are brilliant. How they get behind the team and how they want to support, and for them to be able to turn up at that stadium and generate an atmosphere when they're so far away from the pitch, I think it's really, really difficult for them to do that, and you do feel for them. Tough set of circumstances, and not happy with the ownership at times, and though they had the success with the European trophy that they won, which was great for them, it doesn't seem. Well, it doesn't seem the club is not on a good kind of upward curve.
No, they are very much facing a downward spiral into the Championship as things stand. They trail here by 3-1. We're inside the final minute at St James's Park, which would mean that Spurs need really just a point against Chelsea on Tuesday night to confirm West Ham's relegation. Such is the gulf in goal difference between the two. But West Ham, Juve with the ball into the area, looking to try and continue the fight, but Pope clutches that one out of the air, and it looks to be all over for West Ham here, and they will be glued to Tuesday night to see if Chelsea can do them a favour and take it to the final day on Sunday. Newcastle coming forward with Willock into the area on that left hand side, just cuts back onto his right foot, now tries to get a shot come cross away. It's come off Mavropanos, and it will be a corner kick to Newcastle, but he's not happy, Joe Willock. He's shouting over, I think, to one of his teammates, asking. It's Bruno Guimaraes, is it, that he's having the spat with?
Yeah, they're having a bit of an argument there. Guimaraes feels that Willock should have slipped him in. He made a decent run, and Willock's tried to cut inside on his right foot and take a shot. Got blocked, but Guimaraes wasn't happy, and the two of them having words with each other.
When Newcastle take the corner, they take it short, but there is a whistle blown.
I think the ball was moving.
The ball moving?
Yeah, I think the ball was moving.
So another opportunity for Guimaraes to take this corner. Will he go short again? Will he place it into the area? It looks like they're going to go short because there aren't many bodies to aim at in that penalty area in a black and white shirt. Just Dan Burn and Johan Wissa in there. So short it goes. Ramsey to Guimaraes, and looking for the run of Hall, but out it trickles. And it will be a goal kick for West Ham. We are into the 91st minute. We have 7 added, so 6 more to come. 6 more minutes for West Ham to try and find a lifeline. They have had opportunities in this game, Andy Reid, but they've not really tested Pope enough, and their goal did come from an absolute wonder strike.
Yeah, they've had decent situations, but not really been able to create any clear-cut opportunities. Like you say, the goal was an outstanding strike, great quality, but other than that, maybe one chance in the first half from Castellanos just after he came on, where Pope pulled off a good save. Other than that, they haven't been able to create too much, and they had a little bit of pressure just after they got the first goal, but nothing really doing for them.
Well, it will be a huge night of Premier League football on Tuesday night, because that Chelsea-Spurs game takes place then, and Spurs can relegate West Ham that evening. That and a big game at the top as well. Bournemouth against Manchester City. Both taking place on Tuesday night. Live commentary of both games across 5 Live networks and BBC Sounds. And there will, of course, be updates tomorrow night of Arsenal against Burnley during the Monday night club. But West Ham with the ball in the centre circle. Fernandes out to Diouf on this left-hand side, but there's too much on that pass, and Diouf isn't able to keep it in, and kind of sums up West Ham really at the moment. Lots of fight, but perhaps just not enough quality at the right times.
Yeah, sloppy one there, and you can see both of the players, Fernandes and Diouf, they're not happy with that, probably not happy with each other, and I think it's more of a frustration about probably not just how this game has gone, but I suppose how the season has gone.
It is certainly not a season to enjoy for West Ham supporters as they face the potential of relegation for the first time since 2011 and a season in the Championship. They came straight back up that time. They'll be hoping to do the same this time, should that happen. It is not over yet, but the ball is certainly in Tottenham's court when it comes to survival.
Yeah, it is, but I think that's an important point to make. It's not over yet. You know, Tottenham have a tricky game to navigate on Tuesday, and West Ham will just be hoping that they can take it to the last game. And what you say, on that last day when there's loads of pressure and, you know, everybody gets nervous, anything can happen. So it's not over yet. They've got to keep fighting, got to try and keep a little bit of positivity. Although it is, that positivity is definitely dwindling.
They have won a free kick though in a fairly dangerous position, 20 yards or so out from Nick Pope's goal, just to the left of centre. Somerville driving at the Newcastle defence, tripped, he's still down on his knees, just gingerly trying to get back to his feet. We've got around 3 minutes of the added 7 still to be played here as Nuno makes his way out. Those arms have either been folded or in his pockets, or sometimes over his eyes today. A difficult watch for the West Ham boss. But here comes Castellanos' free kick, blocked up in the air. It falls into the arms of Nick Pope. And the West Ham supporters trailing out of St James's Park. They will hope that their fight continues to the final day, where anything can happen. We've seen some drama this season across a number of different leagues. Cross comes in from the right hand side, but header won by Murphy, picked up by Somerville though. Diouf on the overlap, but Somerville sticks with the ball at his feet, plays it into Disasi. Forward now to Fernandes, laid off to Kante, and looking for Diouf. A poor pass, easily cut out by Murphy, who now drives forward. Kante tries to stop him but slips, and now Murphy racing down this right hand side, right edge of the penalty area, gets a cross into Elanga, first time effort, doesn't quite catch it, and it flies over the top of the crossbar.
Yeah, lightning quick counter attack, and Jacob Murphy does brilliantly well, drives forward, he whips a good ball in, and Elanga is arriving late towards the edge of the box. He just can't get over it, and the ball goes high into the stand behind the goal, but really good counter attack.
Minutes left at St James's Park. Newcastle 3, West Ham 1, and you can feel a little bit of a lull descend the West Ham area up to our left hand side. Lots of empty seats there now, and the heads are dropping on the pitch as Newcastle have the throw in up to Wissa, just trying to fend off Fernandes. Does well. Somerville coming forward. Wissa goes back though, puts in a good challenge, and that's a sore one for Disasi. Slides in and Guimaraes falls straight onto his face, but he's getting up, the big centre back.
Yeah, took a sore one there on the side of the face, like you say, but he's a big lad. I'm sure he'll be okay. He needs to pick himself up. They need to be ready for that last game of the season and hope that there's something in it for them. It's a long trip home for those West Ham fans.
It is indeed, as Elanga looks to skip past Diouf, but held back, and the ball over the top, too far ahead for Wissa to get on the end of it. Elanga looking towards the referee, but nothing given there. Diouf just standing his ground, not allowing Elanga past him. We're approaching now the 97-minute mark, the end of the added 7 minutes at the end of this second half. Ball goes forward, Somerville wins the header, and it's going to fall in the centre circle, and Ramsey was trying to get onto it, but there goes the full-time whistle, and you can hear boos from high up in the left-hand side. They're drowned out by the applause from the Newcastle fans, who have seen their team end a season that has seen them make Champions League history by getting to the last 16, but frustration in the Premier League and not challenging for a European place. But a season still with many things to be proud of for Newcastle, for Eddie Howe and for the St James's Park faithful. It's ended with a victory at home, but the story today was West Ham. The story was their Premier League survival, and Andy Reid at the end of these 90 minutes is looking very, very bleak.
Yeah, bleak situation, that's for sure. Them fans that are on the way home now, they'll be really disappointed with how this has gone. It's always a tough place to come, but they'll just be hoping that Chelsea can do them a favour and he can take it to the last game of the season. They haven't had enough all season. They haven't had enough quality in the forward areas today, other than a brilliant goal that they scored. They've struggled to create too many chances, and Newcastle have been far superior. But it's not just about today, it's been about the season as a whole, which is why they find themselves in the situation they are.
Will Oshala with a couple of goals for Newcastle, Nick Voltemada with a first Premier League goal since December. Castellanos got one back for West Ham, an absolute beauty of a goal, but it was too little for West Ham. So let's head now to some other sport that's happening this afternoon, and it is the final day of the PGA Championship. World number 70, Alex Smalley, leads the way. So let's get the latest from Ian Carter.
Still 22 players within 4 shots of Alex Smalley's lead, but the advantage is down to 1 because Aaron Rai, the Englishman, has birdied the first. Superb tee shot down the middle, just a wedge onto the green, and he holed from 4 feet for a birdie that takes him to 5 under par. We've not had an English winner of the PGA since 1919, the second running of this event, so maybe, just maybe, he's off to the perfect start. A par at the first, good save from Rory McIlroy, means he remains in the group at 3 under par alongside Xander Schauffele and Patrick Reed. Matt Fitzpatrick was round in 65 in the clubhouse at 2 under par, but it is Alex Smalley, the leader, making his way to the first tee, 6 under, now only 1 shot ahead, with England's Aaron Rai in second place.
A big finish to come there, but for West Ham, their season could be finishing on a real low point. They are still in that relegation zone, 18th place, 2 points behind Tottenham, who have a far superior goal difference. Tottenham play on Tuesday night. They are away to Chelsea. A victory or a point there would certainly relegate West Ham, and they would be facing life in the Championship for next season. It has finished here at St James's Park. Newcastle 3, West Ham 1. Coming up after us is 6:06. It follows us next.
5 Live will be live in Istanbul, we will be live in Leipzig, and we will be live in Budapest for all 3 European finals.
5 Live Sports.
McGinn is teed up to seal it, and McGinn seals it! That's the goal that will take Aston Villa to Istanbul!
On Wednesday night at 8, join 5 Live Sport for the Europa League final.
Freiburg versus Aston Villa.
Ask your smart speaker, play 5 Live.